Hello there, good to see you on this Monday morning. Storm Bert dominating the programme today, leaving a trail of disruption. Hundreds of warnings still in place around the country. At least 5 deaths have been reported since the storm hit, and a major incident's been declared in South Wales. The First Minister there has rallied round the people of Wales, describing the situation as devastating.
We're live here in Pontypridd in South Wales. We'll be bringing you the latest as we speak to residents and support workers affected by this devastating storm, as the First Minister describes it as absolutely devastating.
The assisted dying bill claim they have enough support for it to pass, but could a split in the cabinet cause chaos?
Russian forces have taken a former British soldier while fighting for Ukraine, seemingly parading him in a video doing the rounds online. Could this be the start of Russian punishment for Labour's decision to let Ukraine use British Storm Shadow missiles?
The annual Confederation of British Industry takes place as the businesses are uniting to warn Labour the Labour tax rise will stunt growth.
Drink spiking is to be made its own criminal offence as Labour make good on their promise to curb violence against women.
New research shows more than half of us expect food prices to rise thanks to the inheritance tax raid on farmers. The Lib Dem Chief Whip will be sharing her concerns with us this morning.
A new royal documentary last night has caused outrage, with Queen Camilla labelled a wicked stepmother.
I met Harry at a polo match. I asked him about Camilla and his face darkened and he said, everyone treats her like a goddess, but in fact she's the wicked stepmother.
40 years today since Band Aid launched Do They Know It's Christmas? All these years later, it's still making headlines as Ed Sheeran questions whether the fundraiser creates bad stereotypes of Africa. We'll debate that this morning.
We saw disruption from Storm Bert over the weekend, only slowly clearing away today. Find out all the weather details coming up in the programme soon.
Hello there, very good morning to you on this Monday morning. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Isabel Webster, and this is GB News Breakfast.
So this storm causing so much disruption, which we'll be reporting on very shortly. You were nearly blown away.
Yeah, what a wild weekend. I think the windiest gusts recorded were in Yeovilton in Somerset, and I was in Somerset this weekend, as chance would happen, and let me tell you, it was a frightening drive home yesterday. We had all the bikes on the roof of our car, the children in the back, and it was really dicey in places. And when we got home, our trampoline had blown away, which also quite frightening, and luckily hadn't injured anyone.
So all the kids' toys in the garden.
Yeah, it's just, you know, those are minor things really when you look at some of the stories we'll be talking about in a moment. But this was really quite a storm Bert.
Well, OK, it ravaged the whole country, and at least 5 deaths may be connected to the whole chaos caused.
Yeah, the disruption doesn't look set to end just yet. 200 flood alerts are still in place, and there is this major incident still in South Wales.
300 flights have been cancelled. It's only the second storm of the season, but is the worst over, or is this just the beginning of a whole season of storms to come?
Well, let's get the very latest from Adam Cherry, who joins us from Pontypridd, one of the worst affected areas. Good morning to you. Just tell us about what it's like where you are.
Morning, guys. Yeah, well, we arrived late last night, and actually it tells a story just in terms of how we got here. We were supposed to arrive by train from London. All those trains were cancelled, so we had to drive. It took us about 3.5 hours, and on that drive, basically through the west of England into Wales, it was some of the toughest conditions I've seen. It was very wet, very rainy, and now that we're here, we're by the River Taff, and just over to my left shoulder is a street where hundreds of homes have been affected. They were bailing out water yesterday, and many of them were criticising the Met Office and the Welsh Government for not giving them advance warning, enough of a warning, and saying that they didn't have time to make preparations, bailing out water. As I say, 300 homes affected. To my right is the library, which is acting as a sort of support hub, and there are people in there currently. We're hoping to speak to them shortly. We'll be bringing you coverage throughout the morning as we speak to those guys and speak to residents. But there's a feeling of anger here that there was a storm here, Storm Dennis, a few years ago, and the residents, their feeling is they weren't told, and their lessons weren't necessarily learned in time from the last storm. The river water level is lower now. The river's right here, just to my left as well. It's a little bit lower, but as I say, yesterday was absolutely devastating for businesses and for residents just a few metres from where I'm standing.
Difficult for the Met Office, though, isn't it? They can predict what's going to come out of the sky and when it's going to come out, but they can't really predict often the effects that's going to have.
Yeah, that's true, and I suppose there'll be questions raised, and we'll have that discussion in due course. At the moment, people are still battling with saving their businesses and their homes, and in the fullness of time, they can have that conversation. As I say, we're going to chat to some of those people throughout the morning, so hopefully Eamonn will be able to bring you more of that shortly as we get to the bottom of this.
The question will be, and as you say, we'll be speaking to meteorologists about this, but the weather warning, was it severe enough? I mean, red alerts suggest this threat to life, and we know that at least one person in Wales lost their lives, this dog walker, Brian Perry, who disappeared on Saturday and was swept away in floodwaters. And then all these other fatalities, including trees falling onto cars, one on the A34 near Winchester. I mean, to lose so many lives thought to be connected to this storm really gives you a sense of just how serious this has been.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been devastating. As you said at the start of the programme, 5 deaths now reported, one that dog walker in North Wales, and the damage to property and businesses just before Christmas will be enormous. As I said, the houses literally just to my left, they were bailing out water yesterday, 4 or 5 inches of water entering their property, and hopefully we'll bring you some of that footage. But I can't stress enough. It's been really, really difficult. The good news, so to speak, is that it has now subsided a little bit here. But we saw yesterday driving through that this storm has now passed through into the west of England, and there are still severe weather warnings across that area. So it will be a very difficult time for everybody. What's
the overall impression, Adam, that you're getting? Being there, standing on the ground, is the worst over? What's to come in terms of a clean-up there? I mean, my big fear would be having a property, having a house there, for instance, and then clearing up and then just waiting for this to happen again.
Yeah, well, that's the fear that people have, and that's the frustration they have from Storm Dennis. It's not too bad here, to be honest, now. As I say, the water levels have gone down and the weather is pretty clear and crisp. It's not even very windy. When we chat to the support workers to my right in the library building behind me, we'll get a fuller picture of that. They're still working in there currently on their laptops, speaking to locals and so on. So I think the worst has now passed here, but as I say, the devastation and the destruction will be felt for a long time, and there will be lessons to be learned, I think.
Well, Adam, we'll speak to you throughout the day, throughout the morning. Thank you very much indeed at the moment. We are going to find out where the worst is now heading. Meteorologist Tamsin Green. We say good morning to you, Tamsin. What's your take on things?
Yeah, I mean, Storm Bert has obviously been a noteworthy exceptional storm for multiple reasons. On one hand, we had colder weather before, and so we had a moist, mild system moving and interacting with that colder air. And so we weren't just facing rain and strong winds, we were also facing heavy snow. And this storm explosively deepened as it was moving in. So on a broader scale, those isobars tightened, brought strong winds, a really large expanding wind field as well. So that caused the winds to spread out. Regionally, it brought a lot of moisture as well in the form of what we call a weak atmospheric river, essentially a river in the sky. And that transports an immense amount of moisture over from the tropics. And, so we can see intense prolonged rainfall move in from that. Locally as well, as we can see in the footage from South Wales, we saw orographic uplift as well. So that means southwest facing hills face the brunt of the rain because we had a southwesterly airflow. And obviously, as I said before, snowmelt, rapid thawing also contributed to the flooding there.
What do you make of this criticism being levelled at the Met Office, Tamsin, about the warnings not being distinct enough, direct enough?
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't talk personally from the Met Office in terms of the warning levels issued, but what was in the forecast was pretty much exactly what materialised in the end. We saw over 150 mils for upland areas of Wales, over 200 millimetres for places like Dartmoor. Those kind of values were in the forecast and similar with the wind strengths as well.
just to get used to these stronger storms then? Because, you know, these sorts of big events like the storm of 1987 or big floods used to be sort of far less frequent, didn't they? There is a sense that we're having more of these big climatic events. You know, you looked at what happened in Valencia just a few days ago. We've got to get used to it, do we?
Yeah, I mean, climate change is going to impact all of us differently. In essence, a warmer atmosphere holds more moisture. The fact is pretty simple with that. What's less known is the frequency of storminess for the UK and Ireland. There isn't necessarily going to be an increased storminess for us in the UK and Ireland, but there is studies that have shown there'll be 20% heavier, more intense rainfall, purely because things like atmospheric rivers will be more common. And like I said before, a warmer atmosphere just holds more moisture. So there's more rainfall that we're going to be able to be expected in a warming world.
You know, Tamsin, when you look at things and you see how prepared we are or not as a country for these things, it is pretty ridiculous, the lack of defences, the lack of warnings, the lack of change to our whole infrastructure to deal with this. And something like this COP climate summit going on, and yet people still don't make the connection, climate change and what we're experiencing and what we're going to increasingly experience in the years to come.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one thing that is really important is you always have to distinguish that weather and climate are two separate things. You know, you can still have severe weather events that aren't necessarily linked to climate change. But what we have to look at is the overall trend of increasing severity and increasing frequency for some places of these severe events that we're going to be seeing as a result of human-induced climate change.
Thank you very much, Tamsin Green. Good to get your thoughts this morning. We will be keeping a close eye on developments. If you have been affected by the weather at all, do get in touch with us. You can do that by going to gbnews.com/your say. Send us your pictures, tell us your stories.
The assisted dying bill, which is going to happen this week, over the front of the Daily Express in this case. And the vote in Parliament is on Friday. Now, this follows a string of criticisms from high-profile figures, including the former Prime Minister, Gordon Brown.
Yeah, as well as Cabinet Ministers, including the Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, and the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting. Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, and the Science Secretary, Peter Kyle, have also expressed concerns.
But while the government may be split on the issue, MPs sponsoring the bill are confident there is enough support for it to pass.
Well, let's get the thoughts this morning of our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, who's in Westminster. Good morning to you, Catherine. I don't know about you, but I get a sense we're almost certainly looking at the papers, discussing more about what the Cabinet's views are on all of this, whether there's a split at the top of government, than actually the issues surrounding assisted dying and whether or not there is enough safeguarding in their sort of public debate. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, we are hearing a lot about the views of the Cabinet, of course, because those are the ones that people around the country will have heard of. But you're right, Isabel, because at the centre of this is a huge, huge decision for MPs to make, whether to allow terminally ill people with less than 6 months to live assisted dying. They would have to get the sign-off of 2 doctors. It would then have to be approved by a High Court judge. They would then have to take the medication themselves. Now, Kim Leadbeater, who's leading this private member's bill, of course, it's a free vote. MPs can vote according to their conscience. She says that there are very robust safeguards in place and the potential for anybody who coerces somebody into this to end up in jail for 14 years. But there are a lot of voices in opposition fundamentally saying this is being rushed through. A private member's bill is not the way to go about such a fundamental change. For instance, there should have been an impact assessment done on what this would mean, how it would be implemented. That has not happened. And I think it is significant that 2 of the people who would be most involved with implementing this, Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, and Shabana Mahmood, the Justice Secretary, have both publicly said that they are opposed. Now, Shabana Mahmood says that it is a slippery slope towards death on demand, and Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, has ordered a review into how this would work in practice, talked about costs to the NHS, and also said that palliative care is simply not good enough. We've had high-profile interventions also, of course, from people like Gordon Brown. This worry that although it may start with the terminally ill, what's happened in other countries is that the law has then been broadened down the line, and people with mental health conditions, people who are not terminally ill, disabled people have qualified for it. We've seen it happen in Canada with really quite chilling consequences. So the supporters of this bill think it will pass if everybody say that they're supporting it turns up. Opponents say it is on a knife edge. We will find out on Friday afternoon.
Just ask you, Catherine, before we move on, about this CBI annual conference. Businesses are really upset with the Chancellor, aren't they? And they are just adding insult to injury. They're saying now at the front of the Times, this will put us off hiring, according to bosses. But the front of the Guardian, the Chancellor's hitting back and is expected to say today there is no alternative to raising tax, and she remains defiant.
Yes, that's what the Chancellor will say. We've heard so much, haven't we, about this £22 billion black hole that Labour say they inherited the need for difficult choices. But I think it's fair to say that the sort of love affair that existed a little bit between Labour and business before they came into power is well and truly over. Rachel Reeves spent a couple of years wooing businesses and city bosses with smoked salmon and scrambled egg breakfasts, convincing them that after the sort of chaos of the Liz Truss mini budget, swapping of prime ministers under the Conservatives, that they would bring stability and that they would bring the conditions for growth. But with these big national insurance rises for employers, businesses saying that's going to hit them very hard. It's going to make them less likely to hire and wages less likely to go up. They now feel that the government is not creating the conditions for growth. Growth, of course, so essential if we're all to get better off.
Thanks very much, Catherine. Time now for our poll of the day. Today we're asking, do you think there should be another general election after 1.4 million people have signed a petition calling for one? We'll be bringing you the live results throughout the day. Make sure you stay tuned for that. As always, the final result is in Martin Daubney's show this afternoon, and we'll have our own little update just after 9 o'clock on our programme. Pretty sure I know which way you will all be voting on that. gbnews.com/poll if you haven't yet cast your vote.
KFC has dropped its pledge to give up Franken-chicken.
Oh, what's Franken-chicken? That sounds a bit Frankenstein-y.
That's it. It's not real.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So it's coming back. Or
God
staying in there.
What we're ending up eating and whatever.
Well, there we are.
Well, what else is happening in the news?
A British man has reportedly been taken by Russian forces while fighting on behalf of Ukraine as a mercenary in the Kursk region. A video currently circulating online shows a man who identifies himself as James Scott Rees Anderson. He's a former British Army soldier, a signalman. Experts say it could be a sign of Russian retaliation after the government allowed Ukraine to use British-made Storm Shadow missiles.
New analysis has revealed smoking could cause almost 300,000 cancer cases over the next 5 years. Ahead of the second reading of the Tobacco and Vapes Bill, Cancer Research UK is warning the extent of the damage cannot be ignored.
The King's country estate, Highgrove, has been decorated for Christmas with a host of eco-friendly ornaments. Among them, a special nod to Queen Camilla's beloved Jack Russell, Beth, who passed away just last week.
Now, we're talking about Storm Bert and the awful effects over the weekend. Let's see what's happening today. Greg Dewhurst with the picture.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Bert only slowly pulling away after what was a very unsettled weekend for many, as sunshine and blustery showers in the forecast today. Early rain clearing the southeast and then brighter for much of southeast England for the day, but further north and west across the rest of England and Wales, sunny spells, scattered showers. Showers frequent across Northern Ireland and Scotland through the day today, some of them heavy, giving some longer spells of rain and turning to snow over the Scottish mountains as well. Windy here, gusts of 50 miles an hour possible as Bert only slowly moves away, blustery elsewhere, but the wind's lighter compared to the weekend and temperatures near average for the time of year, so feeling cooler than they did yesterday. Into the evening time, we could see the centre of Storm Bert just clearing Shetland there. We've got a mixture of clear spells and showers across Scotland, again falling of snow over the higher ground, temperatures in single figures. So a cool end to Monday. Also showers across Northern Ireland stretching into Northern England as well. Frequent showers for Wales, the West Country, some dry interludes for the Midlands, southeast England here, temperatures in single figures as we head through into the evening time. And those showers just continue to push their way eastwards as we end the day and go into the early hours of Tuesday. Perhaps some longer spells of rain developing through the English Channel and affecting some coastal stretches as we head towards the end of the night. Under the clear spells, temperatures dipping away, low single figures, perhaps a touch of frost, staying breezy across northern Scotland with frequent showers here. And Tuesday morning, a wet start here. Elsewhere, some sunny spells, a scattering of showers. After that chilly start, there'll be plenty of sunshine, still the risk of some showers along the south coast, but many parts of England and Wales will be dry with sunny spells. Also Northern Ireland seeing some sunny spells as well. Scotland, a mixture of showers. The winds tending to ease later on as well, and temperatures a little lower, generally reaching 9 or 10 Celsius at best. See you again soon.
Ooh, a chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
I'll tell you what we're doing next. We're going to be talking about a TV programme on Channel 4 last night called Queen Camilla, the Wicked Stepmother.
I'm sure she loves that. Stay tuned to find out who's been calling her that. I wonder who. Who could it be?
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Bansky's Girl with Balloon is arguably one of the artist's most recognisable images. So when a limited edition print signed by the artist was stolen from Grove Gallery in London, an investigation was launched by the Metropolitan Police's flying squad. The work was thankfully retrieved. The desire to own great works of art has once again become evident this week, albeit a little further afield on the continent. Police in Italy have uncovered a criminal network forging artworks by Bansky, Andy Warhol, Pablo Picasso and others. Investigators said that they've seized more than 2,100 fake pieces of art with a potential market value of about £165 million. With me to discuss that case is the Chief Executive of Grove Gallery, James Ryan.
The art world needs to tighten up. It is known as a bit of a Wild West out there because people will try and chance it with these forgeries. You're quite right, there's only one actual original, but even auction houses have been hoodwinked before.
The burglary that you suffered is sub judice, so we have to be careful what we say about it. But it must have been a bit of a shock to you. I mean, was it a broken window, a smashed door?
At 10, 11 o'clock at night and just hammer straight through, shoulder barging through the door and then in and out. You know, gone in 60 seconds. I must say, I know...
Obviously, they had a targeted attack. The person would have known what he or she was after. Yeah.
Absolutely. But I must say, I know they cop a lot of flack, the police force, but the flying squad got the artwork back within 3 days. They were fantastic. So yeah, I've never heard or seen, other than the Thomas Crown affair type film, I just didn't think it'd be happening to little old me, in Fitzrovia, but it did, and thankfully we got it back.
GB News.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Right, last night on Channel 4 there was a very controversial entitled documentary called Queen Camilla, the Wicked Stepmother. What more is there to ask, really?
Yeah, the show claimed to uncover how the once mistress of King Charles transformed into the adored monarch she is today. Let's take a look at some of the clips.
I met Harry at a polo match. I asked him about Camilla and his face darkened and he said, everyone treats her like a goddess, but in fact, she's the wicked stepmother.
Well, reaction to the documentary has not been all too positive. The Times have branded it a ranty mess. The Guardian have questioned the point of it.
What was the point of it?
Trouble, mischief-making.
Yeah, editor of The Mail on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths. Charlotte, what did you watched it? What did you think?
I think it tried to portray her as a villain all along, but what you actually got, and I don't think the producers intended to do this, what you actually got was a portrayal of a woman who fell in love and was told she couldn't marry her boyfriend because she wasn't pure enough, which in itself is unbelievably antiquated, and then stood by in the background, sort of nobly waiting for him to be able to marry her. And then when she did marry him, the public actually quite liked her in the end and cheered at her wedding day. And actually it was a victory for Camilla. But the problem for the documentary was it was trying to do the opposite.
It seemed as though the whole, I mean, just from the clips that we've seen, the whole premise of the documentary was built around an anecdote from one person who met Harry at a polo match. Although he's been quite public, hasn't he, in how he feels he was the sacrificial lamb in her sort of public rehabilitation of her image.
Yeah, so Harry famously said in Spare and a couple of times on television, he said that, bad anecdotes would leak out about him, which made Camilla and the King look good. But actually, Angela Levin, who's a regular on GBNews, saw him in 2018. And in 2018, he was really positive about her and said she was lovely and she was a great woman. But obviously, later down the line, when he needed to sell books and appear on Netflix, the narrative changed and she became, as he says, the villain and the wicked stepmother. But at some point, he obviously quite got on with her. And the other thing is, I'm quite surprised in a way that Meghan didn't find it within herself to get on with Camilla, because they have a very similar story. They were completely vilified by the press and had endured horrible, horrible headlines about them for years and years and years. In a way, they should have kind of formed an alliance. But of course, the opposite has happened. And now Harry is one of those people that joins the voices of negative headlines and creates negative headlines about her because he calls her a villain on national American television.
I must say, Charlotte, I think I've met all the royals at one stage or another. And when I met Camilla...
She's your favourite, isn't she?
She as I say to her openly, I said, here's my favourite royal. She is, well, you can only speak as you find, but she is a delightful woman. And she's got huge interest in, like, domestic violence, things like credit unions, which a lot of people won't know what those are. But she's spoken to me in depth, and she's written me letters when I got an OBE, for instance, as well. I don't call round there for a cup of tea or anything, but I find that she goes out of her way to be personable.
Yeah, people say she's the most down to earth. I mean, she couldn't be less like Prince Harry and Meghan are these days. She's, she famously used to love smoking a fag and having a gin and tonic. I mean, in a way, she fits right into the royal family. She loves dogs. She loves horses. She did have a reputation at one time for being work shy, but boy, in the last year or two, she is at every single event. She's had a chest infection recently, but she still managed to go to an event or two. And then she had to pull out again of the Royal Variety performance. But she's doing double time to help Charles because he's obviously going through cancer treatment. And as you say, Eamonn, people tend to love her when they meet her because she just cracks the odd joke, seems very relaxed, just seems like a normal person who just wants to kick back with a good book at the end of the day and, enjoy life, really.
I think she's very good for Charles as well. I mean, I don't know him personally, but I get the sense that he's probably a bit of a worrier, that he can take things quite personally, and she seems to be very good temperamentally for him. And we were used to the Queen calling Prince Philip her strength and stay, and I think that Queen Camilla has made Charles very happy.
There's something quite ordinary about her where she forms that connection. The first time I ever met her, Charlotte, was she was looking quite concerned, and I said to her, "Are you okay, Mum? Is everything okay?" And she said, "No, I'm dying for a fag." And there's nowhere to have one here. And we sorted that out. It was quite funny. But that to me is just about how you would sum the woman up. She's completely real.
I totally agree, and that's what I think the nation is craving. It's just realness from politicians and celebrities. We know we can't bear words. I personally can't bear word salad anymore. If I hear one more word salad from a celebrity or a royal, and there she is, as you say, to say, God, do you know what? I do actually just really want a fag. And I think you're right about what you said about her being good for Charles. And this is why I think actually her life has been incredibly difficult, because she was well suited to Charles. They were told they couldn't marry. Charles had to marry somebody who wasn't suited to him at all. You know, Diana wasn't really into horses and hunting, just like Camilla was, and innumerable other reasons why Diana wasn't in a way suitable. But then when Camilla, when he became king, do you remember that incident when his ink spilled and he was signing a document and he got really difficult about it, and she just swooped in. There was an amazing clip. She swooped in. She'd obviously done it 1,000 times before, if not 1,000,000, and just sort of smoothed the whole process over, moved him on, instantly calmed him down with just a touch of his elbow. And you can just tell they have a genuine connection. She knows exactly how to work him, how to make him feel at ease, and how to calm him down when he gets stressed and wound up, as he would be if you were the King of England and going through cancer treatment.
For sure.
So what about the Channel 4 motivation behind all of this? I mean, the title was very controversial, whether you agree with it or not. What do you think they're hoping to achieve out of all of this?
I suppose they're trying to get us, the nation, to dislike Camilla again, but that ship has sailed many, many years ago. And I just thought she came across really well. And it's just so funny that they were trying to make her look manipulative. And one of their big points was that she's formed relationships with the press, and that she used Mark Bolland, a big PR exec, to help smooth the way with the press, and that, you know, poor old Harry, you know, suffered at this tactic. But actually, Harry is the one who formed a relationship with Netflix. So, you know, there's a clip of him repeatedly saying in the show that Camilla got into bed with the devil. Well, you know, Harry signed a £100 million Netflix deal and appeared on Oprah. And they also criticise her for forming relationships with individual members of the press, such as Jeremy Clarkson, who was a columnist. But of course, you know, Harry has formed that relationship with Omid Scobie. So I just think there was a lot of hypocrisy coming through, actually. And it seemed, I think the criticism that it was a bit of a mess is accurate, because it kind of jumps back and forth in two different directions, the documentary.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the problems between the King and Harry and their relationship are now based around some of the public criticism of the woman that King Charles loves.
Exactly, and who can begrudge? I mean, I think the public love a true love story. Who can begrudge the two of them for battling it out for decades and ultimately ending up together, and, you know, running, you know, the monarchy in their dotage whilst going through illnesses? I just think to try and get the public to turn against them with this documentary isn't going to work, because the ship has sailed, and we can see that they're just doing their best and muddling on as best they can. And they were incredibly patient, and they were up against forces around them that didn't want them to be together when they were in love, which is just, you know, sort of Elizabethan way of running a marriage.
Charlotte, lovely hearing from you. Thank you very much indeed. Very interesting perspective. And we say thank you to you. And we say to our audience listening and watching at home, Camilla, the wicked stepmother, do you agree? Do you not? Did you watch the programme last night? What did you think of it?
Now it is time for our biggest and our greatest Great British giveaway this year. And it is now your chance to win, wait for it,
No.
£50 £50,000 in tax-free cash.
50.
It is the biggest cash prize we've ever given away, and it could be yours. Here's how.
It's our festive treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest ever Great British giveaway.
Good, wouldn't it?
What about that?
£50,000. My.
Incredible. We'll take a short break. After that, we'll be going through the pages of the newspapers with Dawn Neeson and Chris Akabusi in Making the News. That is next.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Stirling, the A821 is impassable because of snow between Aberfoyle and Kilmahog. In Argyll and Butte, the A816 is impassable because of snow between the A83 at Loch Gilphead and the A85 at Oban. And in Dumfries and Galloway, parts of the A702, A714, A762 and A745 are impassable because of snow. In Staffordshire, the A34 is closed northbound from Chesterton to Torp Pits because of flooding. In Northamptonshire, the A5 is closed each way because of flooding between Old Stratford and Toaster, and the A428 Harston Road's closed each way between Althorpe and Harston. And in Herefordshire, the A438 is impassable because of flooding between Willersley and Letton. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and he did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home?
Talking about?
Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy.
Man of the people.
It's all vibe.
Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Right, welcome back. We're going through the newspaper front pages this hour, starting with the Mail, leading on the head of the GMB union facing harassment and bullying accusations. The ex-Metropolitan Police Commissioner has called for a review into non-hate crime incidents, and that is the lead for The Telegraph this morning.
The Eye reports that the Cabinet is split over assisted dying as the debate deepens ahead of MPs voting on Friday.
Meanwhile, a poll by The Express reveals overwhelming public support for the bill.
And that is the good question there in the front of The Express. Esther Ranson saying, people have spoken. Let's hope this time someone is listening. We've got Dawn Neeson and we've got Chris Akabusi on this one. Chris, what do you think about the public? The public, and I have to say, anybody I tend to speak to, no one really seems to care one way or the other. It's just, yeah, whatever, yeah.
It's about assisted dying you're talking about. I think it's a very difficult question. I certainly, know, by my instinct, I don't like the idea of the state murdering its people by instinct. But I also understand it's OK, one thing, and I'm sorry, my chair's going down again. It's one thing saying that when you're alive and kicking and vibrant, but when you're in the last few months of life and things are, like you said, you wouldn't let your dog live like that, you might have a different opinion. The challenge I have is that, when we are being in the world, when we're being in the world, we think our life, whatever it is, we've got different levels of wellness. Great, I can cope. It's phenomenal. It's brilliant. Pardon me.
Steady on.
Yeah, getting a bit excited.
Around the desk.
But I ask myself the question. We don't necessarily know someone can look incapacitated yet still have a vibrant life, and we might think, oh, time for them to die. And I know what this bill is saying is that you've got to be in your last few months, and you're going to have a couple of doctors and a judge going to decide alongside yourself. But I think one of the scary things is the thin edge of the wedge. It starts off here, and also you get used to it, and it gets more expansive.
I was reading a commentator had been concerned, yes, you have to have 2 doctors sign this off, and then a judge also has to sign it off. Well, we all know how stressed and busy doctors are. If there is, for example, coercive control from a particular child that's trying to get their parent to end their life so that they can inherit their money, will a busy doctor be able to identify that? And if a judge is there and 2 doctors have nodded it through, on what grounds would a judge be asking more questions?
I think this is the
problem.
problem.
So are the guardrails there enough for those people in society who aren't good people, who are after getting rid of their elderly relatives or whatever, or taking advantage of them? This is somebody's life.
I think most people in this country are torn on this. One minute you think, right, it's, as you say, you wouldn't let an animal suffer like that. And I lost my dad to lung cancer and watched him die. And the last few weeks were horrible. There was nothing going to happen. He was going to die. But and on the other hand, you think, well, with the right checks and balances in place, as you say, the 2 doctors and the judge, but you can't even get a doctor's appointment these days. The judicial system is on its knees. How efficient is it actually? How safe is it actually going to be? I'm really torn.
Well, then also you look to the other countries that have introduced this, Canada and Belgium, where the law has run away with itself and it's expanded so much in that short period of time to affect people who've been suffering from depression or whatever. And you do wonder, well, it might be just for people who are terminally ill now, but will the law be expanded like it has in these other countries?
Yeah, I mean, that's an awful idea. I saw a programme called Simon's Wish, which is on this exact thing. And Simon was a vibrant businessman and developed motor neurone disease. And the upshot, anyway, was Simon was adamant that he wanted to go to Basel in Switzerland to end his life. And his wife wanted to hang on. And he picked his date, 2nd November, because he was born on 2nd November 1959. The reason I tell you that story is, in the end, he got his wish, but because it was so unbearable, he wanted to chuck himself out of the window. And so he actually died 2 weeks earlier, because he liked the allegory and the poetic of dying on his birthday. But when I watched that, as I said, being a person who's not really for it, you could see with Simon, he'd made decisions all of his life, and he said, I want to end my life. I don't want to live like this. So
Yeah, it's a very, very personal, difficult one,
It's
isn't it?
incredibly
Exactly, and it should be up to Sam, not you, not you, not me, not you, whatever. And that's why everyone gets their knickers in a twist about this. When you experience terrible pain or terrible awfulness, you should be allowed to press the button.
No, but because there are concerns that people who don't want to take their own lives will be encouraged to do it or forced into it, and that's the worry.
But yeah, Eamonn, I had some... But no, Eamonn, honestly. So my father lived in Nigeria. He came across here because his heart was failing. If you know how expensive it is to look after somebody when you're paying the bill, 300 quid a night for the bed, and 35 quid for bandages. And it really came to it. And my dad said to me, listen, son, if anything happens, don't worry about it. There was pressure on me. Once you get 3,000, 13,000, 30,000 pounds worth of costs, you're paying for your old man. He's living... There's a pressure on you to say, old man, it's time to go. I didn't live with my dad, didn't know my dad. So there is that pressure. I've experienced that pressure.
Well, Chris, it is time to go. We've got to go to the break.
Not literally, Chris. We're not putting out your misery yet.
Chris will be alive when we come back right after this.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
What about train Wi-Fi? The Times. It's so funny the Times did this story because I was on the train yesterday trying to do some work and connecting to the Wi-Fi, and it happens all the time. It just doesn't work. It's pathetic. And then I opened the Times and they've done a massive investigation. Loads of different rail routes from north to south.
Was that the James Bond thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's
I think, well, that passenger got through, or almost got through, one episode of one James Bond movie in 8 hours.
But you know, it's interesting. We call it train Wi-Fi, but it isn't. It's just really a SIM card on a train, really. So if your own phone's not going to get signal, why would we assume that the train's going to have signal? It just doesn't work like that. Unless you're in Japan or South Korea, whose infrastructure is infinitely better than ours, you're just not going to get signal. You have to download those films way before you get on
There is technology that can help with that. You know, there really is. If they found ways to put it underground, they can get it on ground and get you going. I definitely think, you know, with the price that we're paying for these tickets, they can get the Wi-Fi going. There is technology.
That's why it's so frustrating, isn't
Call
it?
Elon, get a Starlink, let's go.
If you're a passenger paying hundreds of pounds for a season ticket or whatever you call it, and, you know, commute to work every single day, and you're paying all this money, and you can't.
It's so expensive. You'd expect Wi-Fi at the basic. Yeah, exactly.
But it happens with phone signal as well. I'll be walking down London in Park Lane or somewhere else, or down on the south coast. I just don't have phone signal, and I think to myself, what on earth is going on?
Doesn't it feel like 5G's made it worse, though?
Yeah.
Because I feel like 4G, that didn't happen so much, but 5G just feels like...
Yeah, and then I always get this little E in the top corner of my phone, and I don't get any signal. I think it's got worse over the past couple of years. Yeah, especially with 5G. I agree with that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It is the season, isn't it? Christmas parties just around the corner. Dawn, will you or have you ever partaken in a mistletoe Snog?
Not a snog as such, a quick peck under the mistletoe. And every year, much to the husband's absolute horror, because we live in a block of flats, and I put a sprig of mistletoe over the door of our flat. Right. And he goes, you know, every Deliveroo driver or driver is going to want to snog you. And it's like, no, really, they're not, because I normally open the door in my dressing gown. Believe me, it's not a good thing. But evidently, thanks to Gen Z, the woke Gen Z, the mistletoe sales are going down. This is according to a chap called Mr. Mistletoe, Nick Champion. He's one of the leading suppliers. And he has said that he's gone from selling 2,000 lots of mistletoe to the retail market to 500 this year. Oh. So people just aren't buying it anymore. And he says this, not me, he says people are now so woke that, you know, you go anywhere near anyone at a Christmas party, you need written permission, let alone a snob.
Quite aggressive, couldn't it? You know, I mean, you come out with the mistletoe and it's like you expect to kiss.
Oh, definitely. You can just imagine the sort of dirty old man in the office going, oh, I'm going to...
Is that what I didn't know
just imagine them running around on the dance floor at the Christmas party and all the girls thinking,
in fairness, the only encounters I've had with mistletoe have come from women.
Oh, really? Yeah, OK.
Women running, dirty old women running around the office.
Can't think of
I didn't know that.
So you call a dirty old woman, Eamonn Holmes.
I've never seen it. I've only seen people sort of like under the sort of like the door lintel when you that's when you do if you cross. Oh, little hug, babe. Yeah, but I've never known someone to go, oh, hello, mate. Well, maybe it's because me. No one's got hello, Akabusa, come here, son. No, that's never happened. No, that's never happened.
Well, we did it this morning. I mean, you were...
Oh, did we?
You were wearing your little West Ham woolly hat. I thought you looked particularly cute.
Yeah, that's right.
So we didn't need the mistletoe, did we?
No, you looked after me.
The subject of West Ham, Bobby Moore's shirt, Chris, on the front of the Sun.
Yes, you know when we won it.
1966.
Yeah, mighty West Ham won it in 1966.
Yeah.
Sir Bobby with his number 6.
Apparently, this number 6 shirt disappeared from Moore's home.
Yeah.
Where's it turned up?
So it was turned up in Wales, apparently, although I'm wondering whether this is the Loch Ness Monster story.
Yeah.
You know, but it was last seen 30-odd years ago in Tina Moore's, or the ex-wife, the first wife of Bobby's house. Yeah, look, I mean, the shirt itself is absolutely iconic. That brilliant red, a Jules Reams trophy, and apparently it's worth £1 million. And hitherto it's been lost, but a Welsh collector called Mr. Evans. And, you know...
That narrows it down in Wales, doesn't it?
Boyo. And... I mean, I've seen a few of these sports collectors, and they are absolutely so much into it. And they've got really like a museum. And apparently the shirt is in there with his museum.
Yeah.
And has been seen.
Yeah, I feel so familiar with this story. I'm sure I've read this story before, so I was quite surprised to see it on the front page of The Sun today. I'm sure I'm aware of the story. The shirt was last seen in Tina Moore's loft 30 years ago in Essex, and somehow was wound up in this mysterious collection in Wales. But no one's actually seen it still.
No.
There's someone who's given this story to The Sun going, oh, yeah, I saw it. And it's
I love that it's made the front page as well with all that's going on in the world. But 30 years of shirt is an absolutely brilliant headline.
And you know what The Sun are doing at the moment, and fair play, it's distraction. And you know, it's all the horrors and the misery that's going on. The Sun and I think The Star are having a bit of fun with typical tabloid stories, which is what they do. I mean,
well, I just think a lot of people will be interested in this.
Yeah,
the very fact that the England captain's World Cup winning shirt goes missing, then it turns up somewhere. It's worth £1 million. How did this guy get it? Is somebody going to bid £1 million for it? Are they going to send the old bill around and say that shirt shouldn't be here? Give us it back.
Well, Tina is saying it belongs to her. It should be with her. But most definitely, it will get £1 million. There's no doubt that shirt, if it was found, really was found, and authenticated, will be worth more than £1 million, because these sports collectors are seriously wealthy.
Yeah, no, they are.
And seriously serious.
Did he only have one shirt? Did he not have a spare shirt?
Well, yeah, but you want the one that's sweated, don't you?
Yeah, the one that's
the one that didn't
get...
I
don't know.
I have an Eric Cantona shirt where he played in the what was called the Return of a Magnificent Seven.
Hang on, was it like this? Was it?
Yeah, it was like a beautiful scent on it. Very, very, very nice. I would love something, a George Best shirt.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Preferably a Northern Ireland one, but
But
I don't think I'd get one.
Well, the Man United one would be just as... Well, okay, the Ireland one.
Right, before we go, I'm going to say goodbye to you both for the papers now. Chris and Dawn, thank you. And just end this hour on some breaking news in the last few moments coming in from Lithuania, of course, right next door to Russia. And we're hearing that one person has been killed and 2 others taken to hospital after a DHL cargo plane crashed near to the country's capital airport in Vilnius. That's breaking news in the last few moments. We don't know any more details than that. An ongoing rescue is taking place with emergency services there, but a death and multiple casualties with this plane crash. More in a moment.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Bert only slowly pulling away after what was a very unsettled weekend for many. A sunshine and blustery showers in the forecast today. Early rain clearing the southeast and then brighter for much of southeast England for the day. But further north and west across the rest of England and Wales, sunny spells, scattered showers. Showers frequent across Northern Ireland and Scotland through the day today. Some of them heavy, giving some longer spells of rain and turning to snow over the Scottish mountains as well. Windy here, gusts of 50 miles an hour possible as Bert only slowly moves away. Blustery elsewhere, but the wind's lighter compared to the weekend and temperatures near average for the time of year, so feeling cooler than they did yesterday. Into the evening time, we could see the centre of Storm Bert just clearing Shetland there. We've got a mixture of clear spells and showers across Scotland, again falling as snow over the higher ground, temperatures in single figures. So a cool end to Monday. Also showers across Northern Ireland stretching into Northern England as well. Frequent showers for Wales, the West Country. Some dry interludes for the Midlands, southeast England here. Temperatures in single figures as we head through into the evening time. And those showers just continue to push their way eastwards as we end the day and go into the early hours of Tuesday. Perhaps some longer spells of rain developing through the English Channel and affecting some coastal stretches as we head towards the end of the night. Under the clear spells, temperatures dipping away, low single figures, perhaps a touch of frost, staying breezy across northern Scotland with frequent showers here. And Tuesday morning, a wet start here. Elsewhere, some sunny spells, a scattering of showers. After that chilly start, there'll be plenty of sunshine, still the risk of some showers along the south coast, but many parts of England and Wales will be dry with sunny spells. Also Northern Ireland seeing some sunny spells as well. Scotland, a mixture of showers. The winds tending to ease later on as well, and temperatures a little lower, generally reaching 9 or 10 Celsius at best. See you again soon.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Stirling, the A821 is impassable because of snow between Aberfoyle and the A84. In Argyll and Bute, the A816 is impassable because of snow between Lochgilphead and Oban. And in Dumfries and Galloway, parts of the A702, A714 and A762 are closed. In Staffordshire, the A34 is closed northbound away from Stoke-on-Trent between Chester and the Torp roundabout because of flooding. In Northamptonshire, the A428 is closed because of flooding between Althorpe and Harleston. The A5 is closed between Towcester and Old Stratford, and trains through Northamptonshire have been stopped between Rugby and Milton Keynes Central because of flooding, and a number of roads are also closed across parts of Wiltshire, Somerset and Devon because of flooding. The train services also disrupted, and that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
It's our festive treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest ever Great British giveaway.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Nightmare commute? Kick it up a gear with GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+ and on the GB News app. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player apps. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with GB News Radio. We are the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Storm Bert leaves a trail of destruction with hundreds of warnings still in place.
At least 5 deaths have been reported since the storm hit, and a major incident has been declared in South Wales. We're live from there shortly.
First Minister Ellen Morgan has been rallying people around her, describing the situation as devastating.
We're here live in Pontypridd in South Wales. Devastation here enormous, over 300 homes and residential and commercial properties affected. First Minister is describing this as absolutely devastating. We'll bring you all the latest.
MPs backing the assisted dying bill claim they have enough support for it to pass, but it could split the cabinet and cause chaos.
Russian forces have reportedly taken a former British soldier whilst fighting as a mercenary for Ukraine, parading him in a video doing the rounds online. Could this be the start of Putin's punishment for Labour's decision to let Ukraine use British Storm Shadow missiles?
The annual Confederation of British Industry takes place today as businesses unite to warn Labour their tax rises will stunt growth in the country.
Drink spiking will be made its own criminal offence as Labour is making good on their promise to curb violence against women.
Research shows more than half of us expect food prices to rise thanks to the inheritance tax raid on farmers. The Lib Dems chief whip shares her concerns in just a few minutes' time.
And a new royal documentary has caused outrage with Queen Camilla being labelled as a wicked stepmother.
Met Harry at a polo match. I asked him about Camilla and his face darkened and he said, everyone treats her like a goddess, but in fact she's the wicked stepmother.
40 years ago today, since the Band-Aid song Do They Know It's Christmas first stormed the charts. And all these years later, it's still making headlines as Ed Sheeran questions whether the fundraiser creates stereotypes of Africa. Your view welcome. We'll be debating it shortly.
We saw disruption from Storm Bert over the weekend, only slowly clearing away today. Find out all the weather details coming up in the programme soon.
Hello there, very good morning to you on this Monday morning. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Isabel Webster, and this, as you know, is GB News Breakfast.
Our consolation to you if you've been affected by the storms over the weekend, because a lot of people have, as you will see very shortly when we go to Wales.
Yeah, I was in Somerset over the weekend, and some of the gusts that were the fastest or the strongest recorded, 76 miles per hour in Yeovilton. It was dicey. Yeah, I haven't really sort of had daytime storms like that I can remember in a really long time. Lots of trees down, lots of rain, and that wasn't even one of the worst affected areas for the rain, was it?
Well, look, let us know how it affected you. Have your say with us today. We'll be happy to reflect that. So Storm Bert has ravaged the country with at least 5 deaths suspected to have been caused by the chaos.
Yeah, the disruption doesn't look set to end yet either. There were lots of flight cancellations over the weekend. The railway lines really badly affected as well.
OK, before we get in and talk to that, just a few communication problems with Pontypridd going on. We have got the Liberal Democrats Chief Whip, Wendy Chamberlain. Wendy, good morning to you. And the reason we're talking to you is that you are worried about the impact of this family farm tax announced in the budget. How do you see this shaping up?
Yeah, good morning to you both, and thanks very much for having me on. Yes, I think what our research, the research that the Liberal Democrats has commissioned, actually demonstrates that the British public understand better than the government the effect that the family farm tax is going to have on the cost of food and on food security. And the research showed that almost 60% of Britons expect prices to rise as a result of this tax change from the Labour government, and that as a result of that, nearly half of them will be looking to buy cheaper food alternatives, and 20% looking to reduce their fruit and vegetable intake. So this is damaging not only to public health, but it's also damaging to the high street, because a number of those people surveyed said that they would be looking to make purchases from supermarkets, and we know how important our small retailers are.
So you're predicting an increase in prices. Just, last week we were reporting on this programme that inflation had gone up quite significantly in the space of just 1 month, the highest it's been in 6 months. Do you think that Labour are managing the economy well? Do you think that their budget is doing more harm than good, certainly in the case of this inheritance tax raid on farmers?
Well, I mean, I think we always have to remember that even if inflation has come down, it still means that prices are going up. And we're not looking at the same increases that we had during the last government. But I think it's important that we remember, particularly on food prices, those have gone up in excess of expectations. And there's absolutely no doubt that if we look at what the new government's expectations were in terms of the economy more generally, already only a few weeks post the budget, it is not going in that direction. And it's quite clear that the public are feeling the effects of that.
But also the effects of deficit in the budget overall. Rachel Reeves, she's already saying she's no alternative. She's got to raise taxes. Now you're calling for the government to scrap this family farm tax. What would you replace it with, or what's the alternative?
Yeah, Eamonn, we laid out a number of proposals in our manifesto, and those haven't changed. We looked at things, for example, like a social media tax, cutting the big bank charge cuts that they experienced under the last government, and also looking at reforming corporation tax as well. So there are a number of proposals that we had. What's quite clear is for a relatively small tax take, now I'm not pretending that £500 million isn't a lot of money, but it seems to be that this is a decision on this family farm tax that has full-scale turned the farming sector against the government. And there's a number of people, and even my own constituents from North East Fife were down in London for the protest a couple of weeks ago, and they felt very strongly that, having spoken to their accountant, spoken to their lawyer, as the government said that they should do, that they were going to be negatively impacted. So the government really have got this one wrong.
Can I ask you about assisted dying? There's this historic vote taking place on Friday. The last time this was before the House, it was rejected in 2015. Now, I know what the leader of the Lib Dems thinks about all of this and how he's going to vote. But first of all, I want to know your own thoughts on this. And then I just want to ask you sort of really more about the sort of cabinet split around it all, and whether or not you think that Labour are managing the passage of this bill poorly.
Well, first of all, I would say that I think we discussed this last time I was on your programme. Because I'm a Scottish MP, there's less impact of the vote that's coming on Friday to me. And indeed, my colleague Liam MacArthur in Scotland has a bill currently progressing through Holyrood. But I also think it's important that my constituents' views are represented. I'm still pretty conflicted, to be honest, but I think I will be voting for the bill at second reading on Friday. So at the very least, it gets more scrutiny. In terms of the government, this is a private member's bill. It is a conscience issue, so it's not a government bill. But I think, you either have to make a decision as a party about whether you're comfortable for your MPs to talk about their views on something that's well, not controversial, but obviously a conscience issue, but also that, that once you've made that decision, you stick to it. And we've got the Prime Minister determining that he isn't going to say something, but his cabinet colleagues deciding to do something different.
Yeah, and not just deciding to do something different, but speaking quite forcefully against the legislation. To have the Justice Secretary say that the state should never offer death as a service and describing it as a slippery slope towards death on demand. You've also had similar reservations from Wes Streeting, I know on his own religious beliefs, but also concerns about whether or not the NHS could actually provide this as a service, and being criticised by the Prime Minister for getting involved. So the chaos within the Cabinet on this. So how should a government be, leading on this? Should they have basically taken this legislation on and owned it as their own?
I think there is an argument for taking such legislation, back in the 60s, some of these sort of progressive causes were done through private members' bill legislation. But, times change, and I think sometimes we've ended up in a position where some of these conscience issues have been tacked on to bills, which is not necessarily the best place to debate them. But, in terms of this private members' bill process, I know Kim Leadbeater, I know her well. We will have the second reading debate on Friday. It's likely the time of that will take longer than most second readings of government legislation do. And that's one of the reasons why I think I am going to support the bill getting further scrutiny on Friday so that it can go into bill committee and be properly legislated, because some of the things that you raised there, and indeed some of the things that I'm being contacted about by doctors and others in my constituency, certainly make me feel that there may not be a point where I feel that I can fully support this bill because the safeguards aren't in place.
Hearing from you, Wendy Chamberlain there, who's the chief whip of the Liberal Democrats and who has the nicest speaking voice in politics.
I agree.
Storm Bert, right, OK, what's happening there? Let's go to Pontypridd. We're going there live. And Adam Cherry is on the ground reporting for us. But he's not ready. He's been washed away. No, he's back again. Is he there or not? He is. Let's go, Adam. Good morning.
Morning, Eamonn. Yeah, I'm here. I'm standing by the River Taff, which broke its banks over the weekend, flooding around 300 residential and commercial properties, some of which are over my left shoulder beyond these bridges. One of the pedestrian bridges is still closed to the public. Around 4 or 5 centimetres or inches of rainwater into those properties. Many of them had flood defences because about 4 years ago, Storm Dennis flooded this area, although there is some criticism from those residents, and I hope to speak to some of them shortly, saying that they felt they hadn't actually been given enough prior warning by the authorities, although I've just spoken to some members of the council who say that they've been on this since Thursday and made some preparations, or as much advanced preparation as you can. Nonetheless, there is still some frustration. Small piece of good news is that the weather now here has calmed down a little bit. It's not particularly windy or wet anymore, and the water levels of the river are lower. The library to my right, over my right shoulder, was being used as a rest centre for residents affected by the flooding. It's now no longer being used for that purpose because the residents don't need it anymore, which is, as I say, a small piece of good news. But nonetheless, given the amount of rainfall, which is unprecedented even compared to Storm Dennis, there's a lot of devastation, and these businesses and residents will obviously take a long time to recover in just a short period before Christmas. So it's still hugely impactful to the local community.
And Adam, I don't know how much you can see from where you are. Obviously, day is just beginning to break there. But in terms of, I know you had a bit of a dicey journey down as well last night. But, what is the scene where you are? What is the mood? Because, over the weekend, we've got a lot of anger. People saying that they didn't get sufficient warning. They just recovered from Storm Dennis. Are people sort of thinking, is this the future now? Just give us a sense. I don't know if you can move the camera around or show us anything there.
Yeah, well, as I said to you earlier, guys, the drive over here told enough of a story, actually. We were trying to get down here by train. All of those trains from London to Cardiff were cancelled, so we had to drive. That drive was pretty perilous, of course, nowhere near anything compared to what the local people here have had to go through, but nonetheless, pretty dicey, as you say. Now it is a little bit calmer here, and as we speak to residents throughout the morning, they'll give us an idea of how they're feeling. But you're right, there is still some frustration. the council and the fire service are still declaring a major incident here, and there are still weather warnings across parts of the west of England, so it's still an ongoing situation. As I say, before Christmas, something like this is hugely devastating, and there will be questions asked. Why were enough lessons learned after Storm Dennis? Were they given enough time? Some houses here did have flood defences, but it doesn't seem that was enough, and it was just the sheer amount of rainfall was too much even for that. So it will be quite a clean-up operation over the next few months, I'm afraid.
Adam, thanks very much indeed. Interesting, Adam saying their clean-up operation over the next few months, not saying days or weeks, saying months.
Have you ever been into a house just in the immediate aftermath of a flood?
No.
The smell, and even weeks after, and obviously the process of trying to dry out a flooded house, as you say, it is months. You wouldn't believe how long it takes. Quite often completely need the floorboards replacing, replastering.
But my biggest fear would be to buy a house that's in a floodplain or a recently added floodplain, and being stuck with that. How on earth could you ever sell it? Who would ever want it again?
Would you be insurable? Is the question. And, could you ever leave your belongings, your precious belongings, wedding photos, whatever, on the ground floor? You'd be forever worried about these sorts of things.
But the thing is, and I don't think there's enough priority in government for this, that we have to look at a structure. There's no point waiting for the storms to happen. We've got to get ahead of the game. We've got to concentrate more money on defences, and all this rubbish around this country where people say, oh, we need more money for this and we need more money for that and we have to do this. Get real. This is the sort of stuff that's going to really devastate you, where you're going to live, how you're going to live, and we need flood defences in position.
And let's not forget the farms in all of this. More flooding, it's terrible for agriculture. Food security is really bad, the weather situation for farmers at the moment.
But let's just tax them. Let's tax them. That'll solve it all.
Exactly.
Now it's time for our poll of the day, and today we are asking...
Do you want another general election, and do you want it now? There is, of course, this big petition growing online. Lots of people seem to think that they can trigger an election by signing a petition, which, if they've got any memories from the Brexit referendum, doesn't really work.
Is the theory, is the thought that people now look at the current government and they say, we voted for that, we had a hand in that, we maybe changed our vote, voted differently, and look at what we've got. You don't seem to be happy with what you've got. Well, if you have a vote on that, have your say on this, we'll bring you the results as they materialise throughout the day. So the final result will be announced in Martin Daubney's show from 3 p.m.
And if you'd like to cast your vote, go to gbnews.com/poll.
OK, now it's time to get the weather update. We've seen the devastation of Storm Bert. What's going to happen from here on in? Greg Dewhurst, good morning.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Bert only slowly pulling away after what was a very unsettled weekend for many. Sunshine and blustery showers in the forecast today. Early rain clearing the southeast and then brighter for much of southeast England for the day. But further north and west across the rest of England and Wales, sunny spells, scattered showers. Showers frequent across Northern Ireland and Scotland through the day today. Some of them heavy, giving some longer spells of rain and turning to snow over the Scottish mountains as well. Windy here, gusts of 50 miles an hour possible as Bert only slowly moves away. Blustery elsewhere, but the wind's lighter compared to the weekend and temperatures near average for the time of year, so feeling cooler than they did yesterday. Into the evening time, we could see the centre of Storm Bert just clearing Shetland there. We've got a mixture of clear spells and showers across Scotland, again falling of snow over the higher ground, temperatures in single figures. So a cool end to Monday. Also showers across Northern Ireland stretching into Northern England as well. Frequent showers for Wales, the West Country. Some dry interludes for the Midlands, southeast England here. Temperatures in single figures as we head through into the evening time. And those showers just continue to push their way eastwards as we end the day and go into the early hours of Tuesday. Perhaps some longer spells of rain developing through the English Channel and affecting some coastal stretches as we head towards the end of the night. Under the clear spells, temperatures dipping away, low single figures, perhaps a touch of frost, staying breezy across northern Scotland with frequent showers here. And Tuesday morning, a wet start here. Elsewhere, some sunny spells, a scattering of showers. After that chilly start, there'll be plenty of sunshine, still the risk of some showers along the south coast, but many parts of England and Wales will be dry with sunny spells. Also, Northern Ireland seeing some sunny spells as well. Scotland, a mixture of showers. The winds tending to ease later on as well, and temperatures a little lower, generally reaching 9 or 10 Celsius at best. See you again soon.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
At the time, 18 minutes past 7 o'clock. A very good morning to you as you start your day and you start your week with us.
Yeah, stay with us. In just a moment, we'll be discussing last night's controversial Channel 4 documentary called Queen Camilla, the wicked stepmother. Who could possibly have called her that? See you in a moment.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment. This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory. Don't miss my big opinion. Mark meets and my take at 10. Democracy is a funny old thing. And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it. Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it. That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home?
Talking about?
Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy.
Man of the people.
It's all vibe.
Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So much to talk about today. Thank you very much indeed for getting in touch. And one of the things we want to talk about is this business of they propose to make it illegal to spike drinks. One would have thought that was already the case.
Yeah, really shocking. Making it its own specific offence.
Yeah.
In a bid to reduce violence against women.
It's awful, these horror stories that you hear about young people, you know, dying in some cases, but, you know, going to bars and going to parties and things, and these beasts available that can just spike their drinks. So the new offence would mean perpetrators feel the full force of the law, and it's the Home Office is allocating £250,000 to fund training for up to 10,000 serving staff on how to spot a spiking offender. I mean, what are they getting out of it? What do they get out of it? What is the kick?
Well, once they've taken the spike,
they can do what they want.
Yeah.
Do what they want. That's the way it is.
Unfortunately.
Last night on Channel 4, there was a documentary called Queen Camilla, the Wicked Stepmother, ?
Yeah, ? Well, the show claims to uncover how the once mistress of King Charles transformed into the adored monarch that she is today. Let's have a little sneak peek.
I think Charles's office were pretty cold-blooded in the way they used Harry, misrepresenting facts in order to portray his father and his mistress in a better light.
Now, reaction to the programme hasn't been all that positive. The Times says it was a ranty mess. The Guardian questioning what was the point of it overall. Susan has got in touch. Good morning, Susan. Susan says, after initially being against Camilla, I think she's a really good egg. Charles and Diana were clearly not suited, but he should have stood up to what he wanted at the time.
I think he tried. It would have saved him, Diana and Camilla, years of anguish.
Jacqueline says this programme is no more than an anti-monarchist left-wing channel trying to stir up trouble by attacking one of the most popular members of the royal family. Well, is that the case? Let's get the views of royal commentator Angela Levin. What do you think, Angela?
Well, it's very interesting because I was in that. I was in it well over a year ago, and it was just because I'd done this biography of Camilla, and I was supposed to talk about her generally. So I was shocked when it was all full of trying to make her being very nasty. I mean, I think Patrick Jepson, who was forceful about what she'd done and she'd ruined everything, he had been Diana's private looking after her for 7 years. And I think he, can't get over the fact that she is no longer with us. But the other thing that I felt was more important was that there was no chance to ever say what her relationship was like with Harry, what they'd done for her. I mean, for example, when she was coming up to her 50s, which was soon after Diana died, they weren't married. And Harry and William decided they wanted to make it was her father's 50th. He was going to make a beautiful party, and Camilla was going to be the star of it because she's been so marvellous to him. He's so happy. And so it sort of changed with Harry, not with William. Camilla gets on also very, very well with Catherine and helped her to understand the way you need to be in the palace, because it's very difficult. Nobody helped her, and she really wanted to help her to get used to all these funny ways. And William was incredibly grateful. So he wasn't so negative about her. But Harry, I think he's just got a very nasty feeling about everyone, really, about the press, about her saying that she left bodies on the street. I mean, I don't know anybody that she's left on the street. She did her best.
But, Angela, you talk about Harry's relationship with the press. Surely one of the criticisms being directed towards Camilla is that at times she's got too good a relationship with the press, and Meghan and Harry had put this forward that she was very open to speaking to the press, and they didn't like that.
Well, you'd be surprised. It's not really being open. I mean, I spent a year with her to do the biography, and she's fine, but she's only up to a certain limit. She doesn't sort of get over pally. She also said she doesn't want to just talk to one journalist. She's not going to do that. What has made her so popular with the press is that she remembers their name. She remembers all sorts of things. A photographer told me one day, she said, she remembered that my daughter went in to have her tonsils out, and she asked me twice or three times how she was. She knows if people are unwell, and I think that she feels that the press have to do their job, but she doesn't give away anything. She's quite careful about that, and I think that that's what Harry was upset about, that she has a very easy flow, but she's also mature enough to know that you don't tell them everything. And she doesn't leak anything, and she absolutely does not. It's just not the sort of woman that she is.
Well, Angela, we managed to get hold of a clip of you from that documentary, so let's have a little listen.
Prince Charles knew that he couldn't marry her, he wouldn't be allowed to, because at that time, and it's quite hard to believe, that women had to be a virgin. The future King of England had to marry a virgin because they had to be pure. That was it. And Camilla quite obviously was not.
She quite obviously was not.
She was a divorcee, wasn't she? Yeah,
well,
she had a husband.
She'd been out with Andrew Parker Bowles, and you know, she was a real party girl, and she didn't try and hide that. And you see, Diana, she had to have a doctor examine her to make sure.
Oh my goodness, too early. Yeah.
Sorry. But I mean, that's how important it was. That's why the Queen was against her, because the Queen had loads in common with her. Horses, dogs, all that sort of thing. Princess Anne did, but that's all nice now. It was very, very difficult.
But here's the thing, Angela, here's the thing. You talk about what the royals had in common with her. She has things in common with them, and she's things in common with you, me, the general public.
She's relatable.
Yeah.
She's relatable. She goes out of her way. We heard about her mentioning that girl who had her tonsil operation. I honestly have found her to be more than interested in one as an individual, and a very personable, and you can only speak as you find, likeable individual. How have you found her?
Oh, yes. I mean, I thought she was wonderful. And one of the things I thought was that she'd not had a career. She'd never wanted to have a career, but she started to work with charities for the king, because the prince then, because she didn't want to just hang around. She wanted to help him. And she's come up with the most wonderful things about, you know, violence at home, which she's done amazingly well all around the world. The literacy, that she goes around all the world helping people talk. One journalist the other day said that, oh, she just did that because she had a podcast. It wasn't that at all. She's gone all around the world to places that are very poor, and they don't even buy books or look at books. And she tries to turn it into a party and a wonderful arrangement. I think she's a marvelous woman, and she doesn't care if she's got wrinkles. She said, you know, to me, you know, this is me. I'm
she looks
like
great.
that.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't think the nation sees her as the wicked stepmother, even if the documentary tried to portray her as that. Thanks for your thoughts and your experiences, Angela. And at home, if you're watching and listening to this, let us know what you think. Do you see Queen Camilla as the wicked stepmother?
You won't even know we're talking about. Angela and I have had the good fortune to have met her and to rub shoulders with her. There's no reason why she should be friendly with me or Angela. But interestingly, one of the things she got in touch with me over was that she read in an interview that I had bought my first car, which cost £550, through a loan from the credit union. And credit unions are very, very big in Ireland, and she wanted to do more to help poor people here, get them away from banks. And the credit unions, the neighbourhood saves for the money, and then the neighbourhood becomes the bank, sort of thing. And she talked to me in depth about my experience of the credit union, who it could help, how it worked for me and my family. And she's just very, very, she's very interested in it, and you can tell she wants to make a difference.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at some of the other stories coming into the newsroom this morning with the time at 7:31. And we'll start with some breaking news. We understand one person has died and 3 have been injured after a cargo plane crashed into a house in Lithuania earlier this morning. Officials say the plane was approaching the capital city's main airport in Vilnius. The flight was being operated by Swift Airline on behalf of DHL.
A British man has been taken by Russian forces while fighting on behalf of Ukraine as a mercenary. A video currently circulating online shows a man who identifies himself as James Scott Rees-Anderson, former British Army soldier. Experts say it could be a sign of Russian retaliation after the use of those Storm Shadow missiles.
Returning to the royal theme, the King's Country Estate Highgrove's been decorated for Christmas with a host of eco-friendly ornaments, among them a special nod to Queen Camilla's beloved Jack Russell Beth, who was put down just last week.
Here's a wee bit of good news. You can't get enough of that. It could be our biggest and greatest Great British giveaway this year, and your chance to win £50,000 in tax-free cash.
Yeah, it is the biggest cash prize we've ever given. This is how it could be yours.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Stirling, the A821 is impassable because of snow between Aberfoyle and Kilmahog. Argyll and Bute, the A816 is impassable because of snow between Loch Gilphead and Oban. And Dumfries and Galloway, parts of the A702, A714, A762 and A745 are impassable because of snow. Across parts of England, a number of roads are closed because of flooding. Staffordshire, the A34 is closed northbound away from Stoke-on-Trent between Chesterton and Deep Talk roundabout. In Northamptonshire, the A5 is closed each way between the Brackley Road and Milton Keynes turn off at Toaster, and Northampton Railway Station is closed because of flooding. A number of trains are cancelled too, and there are a number of road closures and train disruption across parts of the southwest of England this morning. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some Chris Akabusi, they've got the papers in front of them. One of the stories making it there, Chris, is refuse a job and we will cut your benefits. This is the cabinet minister pronouncing this. This is the Daily Mail.
Yeah, it's actually particularly targeted at young people, saying that so many of them are, for whatever reasons, mental health or whatever, not in work. I think it's really good. I mean, I do a lot of work actually myself with young people who are not in employment, education and training, trying to help people make that transition into the workplace. And there are a variety of reasons. Now, it's clear that there are some people who are swinging the lead. But
why does this government, why does this socialist government, this thing that amazes me, continually sound like a conservative, reactionary government? Everything they do, cutting the winter fuel payments, taxing the farmers, whatever. It's amazing, Dawn.
It is. I mean, this was this story was also in the Mail on Sunday yesterday, which Starmer gave an interview to, and obviously it's probably about one of the most right-wing papers you can get on a Sunday. And it sounded like an interview with a Tory leader. It was like, obviously, I understand they're throwing red meat to Daily Mail readers. I understand that, but it's like, you know, we've got 9 million workers who are of working age who aren't employed at the moment. So something has to be done. Many of them on benefits. I mean, the statistics for people with attention deficit hyperactive disorder has gone through the roof over the last 10 years, and these people are on benefits. So, you know, but you're right, Eamonn, it sounds like we're listening to a Conservative government.
But maybe they're facing an unprecedented challenge. I mean, the idea that we are the only G7 country that hasn't recovered employment rates post-COVID. The numbers of people back in work. 4 million will be on benefit by 2030. That's up 60% since before COVID.
Yeah.
So I guess, you know, even a Labour socialist government has to say this is costing too much. Are these people capable of work? Fair enough, if they are, you know, capable of work, they should be seeking a job, otherwise their benefits should be... Is that nasty to say?
No, what it is just creating the right infrastructure so that when you've got young people, first of all, they should be sorted and trained in school, but there should be that programme where a young person leaves school at 16, 18 and can step into an employability programme. I think that's sort of some of the move that they're doing. Now, if you go and looking for employment and you're not ready, then the government and its partners can train you and facilitate that opportunity.
Do you know what, Chris? The way you describe this, nobody with any sense of reasonableness will disagree with this. They'll say, well, if you're not trying, you shouldn't be rewarded for it, you shouldn't be paid for it. But I put it to you, Dawn, this is not why this country is in a financial mess. It's nothing to do with these young people or what money they are taking or not taking.
That's quantitative easing in global financial crisis 2008, and the cost of COVID and you know, Richie Sunak giving money away. You can't keep on throwing money to the economy without it going to affect the economy. So that's why we are in our crisis. Is we've just thrown too much money into the system.
I think what I really don't understand with what's going on at the moment is how, on one hand, Labour are saying, right, we need to get these 9 million people of working age back into the workforce, at the same time as putting our national insurance payments, increasing national insurance payments to the cost of 25 billion on employers, who are then going, well, we're going to have to make people redundant and put more people in unemployment. People don't feel like it pays to work anymore and are happy to languish at home. We're going to be discussing this in just a moment with the Shadow Work and Pensions Secretary, Helen Whatley. Before then, we're going to take a very quick break, and then hopefully, after we've spoken to the Minister, we'll be back with Dawn and with Chris in just a moment.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel. I'm Christopher Hope. This is GB News, Britain's election channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now we're joined now by Sophia Viraji, the co-founder of the Isabel Foundation, which was created due to the tragic passing of her 8-month-old daughter to leukemia. The foundation is doing some incredible work for children's cancer.
Yeah, some really incredible stuff. They've just launched a PhD even, where they're funding young doctors to specialise in childhood cancer, as, get this, I wasn't aware of this, it's one of the most underfunded areas in the NHS. So not many sectors choose to go down that route, unfortunately. The charity, the foundation, have donated over £1 million worth of equipment to hospitals as well, and we're delighted to welcome Sophia. You've turned a tragedy and grief into triumph, I guess, and something so inspiring. Just tell us about that. Do you recognise that in yourself and the work you're doing?
Yeah, I'm here to always honour my daughter and to always continue her name, her legacy, and to support all of these other children fighting against childhood cancer.
It was all over social media. I mean, you were, at one point, probably one of the most famous families in this country because of Azalea and Azalea's fight. When you look back now at that time, does it give you comfort that you had so many people behind you?
Absolutely. The community that we have got, the humanity that we've seen in the UK and all around the world, in fact, has really touched my heart. And that kindness, love and support has always been the backbone of carrying me through this, to give me hope, to give me belief. And it still inspires me and encourages me till today to continue to do that, to show that light, to show that courage and bravery.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Chris and Dawn in the studio, and they're discussing the stories making the papers today. And one of those is a story in the Daily Mail: refuse a job and we will cut your benefits. This is the government telling young people this, and they're getting involved in a crackdown on payments. We now go to the Shadow Work and Pensions Secretary, Helen Watley, and she joins us now to give us her take and her view on what the government are proposing to do. Helen, good morning.
Good morning.
So what is your take on what the government is proposing?
So I've seen what the government said in the papers this morning and also on the media round yesterday. So far, a lot of what I'm hearing sounds like a continuity of the reforms that we started. So we saw coming out of the pandemic an increasing number of people who were not in work due to ill health. A big problem for the country, not good for those people who find themselves not in work, not a good thing for our economy. So I say we had a bunch of reforms already in progress to support more people into work, to reform the fit notes that GPs give, and to make sure that the incentives are there for people to work. So to the extent that Labour is going to be continuing those reforms in government, of course I will welcome them, but we'll hear more, I think, tomorrow when there's a statement in Westminster.
You support their continuing of this policy, but why do you think it is, on the Conservatives' watch, that the G7 nations, we were the only ones not to recover in the same way in terms of employment rates after COVID? The number of people claiming benefits has gone up 60% since before COVID, and you weren't able to get a grip of that.
So yeah, we experienced challenges which many other countries have been experiencing, exactly that, for instance, of not so many people able to work alongside ill health being a reason for people to be on benefits. As I said, we had reforms in place. We were having a bigger challenge on this than some other countries. It's something that we work to understand, and the new government will have to understand that as well. But one of the things that I am worried about with the new government's approach on this is, while the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions is talking tough about people getting into work, on the other hand, we've just seen from the Chancellor an anti-business, anti-growth budget. And so it's going to be much harder for people to get into work if the jobs aren't there. And I'm hearing from businesses saying they were planning to hire, they were expecting to grow their businesses, and now they're not going to do that. That's really worrying.
Just looking at the front of The Guardian, and the Chancellor is being quite defiant against critics like you, saying things like that, and indeed those at the CBI. And last week we saw that letter from 70 businesses also echoing those concerns. She said that there is no alternative to her plans, that she must raise taxes, and she blames a lot of that on this black hole that they inherited from your government.
So these are political choices that the Chancellor and the new Labour government are making. They chose to put up public sector pay, put up the pay deals with the unions above inflation without requiring any productivity reforms. That was a choice they made. They're choosing to throw money into a British energy company. They're choosing to do those things to spend money, and that's why they have put up taxes. So they shouldn't blame us for the political choices that they are making. And I would say to the Chancellor to listen to businesses. They talked about growth in the run-up to the election, but actually they're doing the opposite. And I say, I'm talking to businesses who are absolutely distraught. How are they going to survive 5 years of a government behaving like this? Is it this government is incompetent, or is it that they hate business?
OK, I want to ask you about the assisted dying vote on Friday. How are you going to vote in all of this? And do you have a view about some of the opinions being expressed from very senior members of the Cabinet, not least Shabuna Mahmood, who is the Justice Secretary, who thinks that this is, in a way, the state offering a death as a service?
I'm looking at the legislation. I find this a really genuinely hard decision. On the one hand, I want people to be able to have a choice, and if they want, and if they know that they're going to go through a really painful, difficult death, and that's coming, to have the choice to choose for assisted dying. But on the other hand, I do really worry about anyone who might feel under pressure to do that and be worried, for instance, that they might be a burden to their family or society, and worried about that. And I think for me, it's about weighing those things up. It's a really difficult decision.
From you on that yet. I just want to ask you then lastly about this petition that is attracting lots of attention online, already over 1 million people calling for another general election. What's your view on whether or not there should be another general election, and whether or not you think a petition is a good way to call for a general election?
Well, I think petitions are a good way for people to get heard. I've already had that petition forwarded to me this morning. But for me, that petition reflects what people are telling me when I speak to them, which is, even for those who voted for Labour for them at this election, that they voted for one thing and they're getting another thing. That in the run-up to the election, Labour said a bunch of things, and now they're doing different things in government. So they said they wouldn't put up taxes on working people. They said they wouldn't raise national insurance, but they have gone and put up national insurance. They said they were going to be pro-growth, but instead their budget is anti-growth, and growth figures are going down. So that's the problem, is that they said one thing and they're doing another, and people can't trust them.
Helen Wortley, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Thank you. Back to Chris and Dawn. And I want to go to the Mirror, and they talk about imposter syndrome here. Dawn, would you like to maybe describe what you believe imposter syndrome to be?
In my head, it's the fact that no matter how good you are at your job, how long you've been doing your job, there is still this little niggle at the back of your head that at some point someone's going to tap you on the shoulder and go, "You're actually a bit rubbish, aren't you? What are you doing here?" So that's in my head. That's how I interpret it. Chris had a different interpretation, which is why we had a huge debate about it outside.
Exactly. So for me, it's not about my job. I've been very, very lucky. I've had validation through my sport, and no one needs to tell you whether you're any good at a sport. The stopwatch tells you that. If you're a champion, you're a champion. And since then, in professional speaking, I've had validation. The bank balance tells me that, right? But where I found it for me is as a result of what I've done in the sports field, I've had opportunities. For example, 20 years ago, I was sort of courted by the Tory party and was invited to parties and things. I just didn't feel comfortable because I knew that, OK, I might be successful, but these are not my people. Now, these are very posh, well-spoken people, and you're from London N9, mate. Sort yourself out. And then exactly the same with my military background. You know, I've been courted at the military, high levels, generals and brigadiers, and call me Simon. And I say, yes, sir. No, Chris, and no, because I'm not there. I know that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to kid myself. You're not there. Duke of Bedford, lovely chap, would like me to call him his first name. Yes, sir. So that's my imposter syndrome.
How do you overcome that? Because you've got a seat at the table. You're being invited there. You're being welcomed in those environments.
It's not them, it's me.
Yeah. So how have you got over that?
Well, I haven't because I refuse to because as again with imposter syndrome, it's about your social construction, your social construct. And when I was a young lad being brought up, and you know, I don't want to talk about racism, but when I'd been brought up, there was a them and an us. You're a black boy from a children's home, and you are working class. And so my construction of the self will never allow me to really see myself up there with the highest echelons of this country.
But doesn't this guy have some tips on how to
overcome? I mean, you're self-made.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm actually going to turn this one back on you, Eamonn. I mean, you've been doing your job for a very, very long time, since you were a youngster. You know, you've done brilliantly your career, a brilliant career. Do you have imposter syndrome?
Of course not. Never.
When I was young, I used to always wait for someone to come into studio. But bear in mind, I was 19. Someone come in studio and tap me on the shoulder and say, "Can I see your pass?" You know, whereas I felt I didn't know anybody. I was doing a job that wasn't real. Nobody I knew, nobody in my family circle and beyond worked on television. So from that point of view, yes. But from a point of view of believing in what you do and knowing your own ability, it becomes, again, to a sporting background where I would say, is my stopwatch, does it speak? Do I do better than him, her, whatever? Yes, I do. Judge me on those results. Yeah. That's what I did.
Yeah, so when you compare yourself amongst your peers, you know you're in the highest echelon. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been working so long.
Well, I used to be.
No, you were talking about.
Here's the weather.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Bert only slowly pulling away after what was a very unsettled weekend for many. A sunshine and blustery showers in the forecast today. Early rain clearing the southeast and then brighter for much of southeast England for the day. But further north and west across the rest of England and Wales, sunny spells, scattered showers. Showers frequent across Northern Ireland and Scotland through the day today. Some of them heavy, giving some longer spells of rain and turning to snow over the Scottish mountains as well. Windy here, gusts of 50 miles an hour possible as Bert only slowly moves away. Blustery elsewhere, but the wind's lighter compared to the weekend and temperatures near average for the time of year, so feeling cooler than they did yesterday. Into the evening time, we could see the centre of Storm Bert just clearing Shetland there. We've got a mixture of clear spells and showers across Scotland, again falling as snow over the higher ground, temperatures in single figures. So a cool end to Monday. Also showers across Northern Ireland stretching into Northern England as well. Frequent showers for Wales, the West Country. Some dry interludes for the Midlands, southeast England here. Temperatures in single figures as we head through into the evening time. And those showers just continue to push their way eastwards as we end the day and go into the early hours of Tuesday. Perhaps some longer spells of rain developing through the English Channel and affecting some coastal stretches as we head towards the end of the night. Under the clear spells, temperatures dipping away, low single figures, perhaps a touch of frost, staying breezy across northern Scotland with frequent showers here. And Tuesday morning, a wet start here. Elsewhere, some sunny spells, a scattering of showers. After that chilly start, there'll be plenty of sunshine, still the risk of some showers along the south coast, but many parts of England and Wales will be dry with sunny spells. Also Northern Ireland seeing some sunny spells as well. Scotland, a mixture of showers. The winds tending to ease later on as well, and temperatures a little lower, generally reaching 9 or 10 Celsius at best. See you again soon.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Stirling, the A821 is impassable because of snow between Aberfoyle and the A84. In Argyll and Bute, the A816 is impassable between Lochgilphead and Oban. In Dumfries and Galloway, parts of the A702, A714, A762 and A745 are impassable because of snow. Now, in Staffordshire, the A34 is closed northbound away from Stoke-on-Trent between Chesterton and the Torp roundabout because of flooding. In Northamptonshire, the A5 is closed through Toaster because of flooding. Northampton railway station's flooded. Trains can't run between Rugby and Milton Keynes Central. There's widespread disruption because of flooding on a number of other roads, especially across parts of the southwest of England, in Wiltshire, in Somerset and in Devon. The number of train services also affected. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Imagine getting a call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
Luck.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Storm Bert leaves a trail of destruction, hundreds of warnings still in place.
At least 5 deaths have been reported since the storm hit and a major incident's been declared in South Wales.
Well, the First Minister in Wales has rallied around her people. She describes the situation as devastating.
MPs backing the assisted dying bill claim they have enough support for it to pass, but could a split in the cabinet cause chaos this week?
Russian forces have taken a former British soldier whilst fighting for Ukraine. They've paraded him in a video doing the rounds. Could this be the start of Putin's punishment for the government decision to let Ukraine use British Storm Shadow missiles?
The annual Confederation of British Industry takes place today, their conference, as businesses unite to warn Labour that their tax rises will stunt growth.
Drink spiking will be made its own criminal offence as Labour make good on its promise to curb violence against women.
40 years today since the Band-Aid song Do They Know It's Christmas first stormed the charts, but all these years later it's making headlines as Ed Sheeran has been questioning whether the fundraiser has created bad stereotypes of Africa. We'll be debating that story this hour.
We saw disruption from Storm Bert over the weekend, only slowly clearing away today. Find out all the weather details coming up in the programme soon.
Hello there, very good morning to you on this Monday morning. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Isabel Webster and this is GB News Breakfast.
talking about the devastation caused by this Storm Bert. And we want to know if it's affected you or not. It certainly has ravaged much of the country.
Yes, over the weekend there have been at least 5 deaths suspected to have been caused by the chaos, including a tree hitting a car and a dog walker being swept away in a river in North Wales.
And the disruption continues. 200 flood alerts still in place and a major incident declared in South Wales.
More than 300 flights cancelled so far in what's only the second storm of the season. But is the worst over, or is this just the beginning of a season of storms?
Well, let's go on location. Our reporter Adam Cherry is in Pontypridd in Wales. The sun has come up. You can have a look around. And what are you seeing? What are the after effects, Adam?
Morning, guys. Well, in the last hour, I've been speaking to local people and people who are living in the surrounding areas. And the feeling I'm getting is one of obviously upset at what's happened, but also frustration that the authorities perhaps weren't as prepared as they would have expected, given that just 4 years ago there was the devastating impact of Storm Dennis. Now, we spoke to 2 people who I'm going to show you some footage of shortly, explaining how they feel about that and the fact that they're worried, insurance might not cover the damage here. It's an open question, and there's serious anxiety over all of that. So let's take a listen to what they had to say right now.
And the flood defence is not working, and apparently they wasn't even told that it was coming. So somebody's going to be in a firing line for that, surely.
They haven't done enough for anybody. It's lucky they got the library to stay in, and the library is the only place they can stay there and be fed and watered and everything.
So as you hear there, serious concern and frustration that not enough has been done. Now, the councils say they've been making preparations since Thursday, and although the worst of the weather effects appear to have subsided here, a major incident is still being declared here and, of course, across parts of the southwest of England as well. But nonetheless, there will be questions to be asked of the local authorities. Why isn't more being done, given that just a few years ago they experienced almost an identical situation?
And what about some of the impacts that are being felt? I heard on the radio this morning about boil notices being put in place for parts of the country where people will have to boil their water before they drink it, and that could last for a number of days, and lots of places today still without power. Again, any update on how those are going?
Yeah, so several parts of the south of Wales have boil notices, as you say. It's not clear how long that will last. There are some school closures, highway closures, rail closures as well. In fact, it was difficult for us to even get here today or last night because there were so many trains cancelled from London to Cardiff, so we had to drive. That was a dicey journey. As you can see now, perhaps those watching on television, the weather is now getting a little bit worse again. One of the residents I spoke to off camera said the problem is, regardless of how much you prepare, it's so quick here. The River Taff is just here on my left. It's so quick to rise the water levels, and then instantly it goes back down again. So, I suppose there is some sympathy for the local authorities that this happens very, very quickly, even if you make as much preparation as you can. Sometimes, unfortunately, Mother Nature is just too powerful. So, of course, there are questions, and we heard that frustration, but sometimes it's very difficult to make any appropriate
those
response.
fast rising rivers, always so difficult. Adam, for now, thanks very much indeed. And we'd love to hear from you if you've been affected over the weekend by Storm Bert. I've just had a message on the school WhatsApp group, a tree down on the road to my children's school, so who knows how much disruption that's going to cause during
That's really scary
school
looking when you see that over that road.
Yeah.
And, if you have been affected by this, the question I would always ask myself is, how on earth do you pick yourself up off the ground? How do you tidy up? How do you move back into your home again? And do you just wait if you've been flooded once?
Yeah.
Do you wait to be flooded again?
We had a comment earlier, forgive me, I've forgotten your name, but thank you for sending in your experiences. And we were talking about how it can take months before properties really get over the smell and the dampness from a flood. He said try 12 months. Took 12 months for his property to dry out properly. And that means living somewhere else. Yeah. That means the expense of 2 incomes, one on your house whilst you're fixing it and staying somewhere else. It is devastating for those people. It'd be interesting to see. There's often visits from, senior politicians and royals when these sorts of national disasters happen. Will we see some of that? It certainly would be probably very welcome for those communities that have been badly affected.
Our heart goes out to you. It really does, to be involved in that.
Awful.
And how much more widespread will these sort of situations become? How more regular will they become? And what do we do to try and protect against it? Are we doing enough? And when it happens to you once, will it happen again? Let us know. Have your say, have your views.
Now, the big talking point this week, it is the assisted dying bill. That vote goes before Parliament on Friday, and the government is reportedly split on the issue.
Now, this follows a string of senior Labour figures coming out against the motion, including former Prime Minister Gordon Brown. Now, it says they're coming out against the motion.
Against assisted dying, yeah.
They're against assisted dying, OK.
Yeah.
There you have Cabinet Ministers, Justice Secretary Shabina Mahmood, Health Secretary Wes Streeting, Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson. The Science Secretary is Peter Kyle.
But while the government may be split on the issue, MPs sponsoring the bill are confident that there is enough support for it to pass. Let's get the thoughts of our political correspondent Catherine Forster in all of this, because, Catherine, YouGov have done a survey of us, the British population, and 2/3 of us are in favour. So if our MPs are reflecting the mood of the nation, this bill should go through, shouldn't it?
Well, yes, that was the finding of the YouGov survey. However, when you drill down into some of the other responses from that survey, it does say that people do want palliative care to be prioritised. Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, one of his main concerns is that palliative care in this country is simply not good enough, and that people will feel that they don't have a real choice, and also that it will be costly for the NHS to implement this. And also in that survey, it does say that the majority of people feel that there must be very, very strict safeguards in place to protect vulnerable, elderly or disabled people that might feel that they are a burden, or that relatives feel they are a burden. So I don't think it's quite as clear-cut on public opinion as that headline would suggest, and certainly nothing clear-cut about how this is going to go on Friday. I'm really struck that when I first reported on this, when the bill was first introduced to Parliament, the feeling was then that it would definitely go through because there's so many Labour MPs, and of course the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, although he hasn't said how he's going to vote this time, he's said he's going through it line by line, did support the previous vote back in 2015 and did say to Esther Ranson, who of course is terminally ill and campaigning on this, that he would find time for this bill to be brought. So the feeling was that a lot of new Labour MPs would be influenced by that, but a lot of very prominent cabinet members coming out against it, most notably Shabana Mahmood, the Justice Secretary, saying that it could be a slippery slope towards death on demand. And Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, has also come out against it. And I think that is significant because they are the two ministers that would be tasked with implementing this. Now, Kim Leadbeater, of course, it's her private member's bill and MPs have a free vote on it. They believe that if all the MPs who've said they will support it actually vote, they will get this through. Opponents say that it is on a knife edge. We won't have very long to find out. And a lot of MPs still undecided because there are strong feelings and strong cases on both sides.
Catherine, thank you. If you want to take part in our poll of the day, we are asking... Who makes these up? Do you want another general election? Do you want one right now? There might be reasons that you want one, but you don't think we've sort of had enough of these. No, then you're shouting at the TV and you're saying, are you kidding? Look at this lot. Of course we want another one. OK, so if you think you've affected the general election and you could affect the result if there was another call for an election, we are asking you to have your say. We'll be bringing the results to you throughout the programme, throughout GB News for the rest of the day. Final result announced by Martin Daubney at 3.
Yeah, and if you'd like to cast your vote, go to gbnews.com/poll.
Imagine that, another general election.
I know. It was interesting what the Tories were saying there, and they basically conceded, look, this petition isn't going to change the rules. There won't be another election, but it gives a very clear expression of frustration at what is going on at the moment. You know, I think it's already beating all records for the numbers of people signing this petition.
So you think this is people who maybe changed their vote last time?
I don't even know if they are people that voted Labour last time, but people who are just going, what are you doing? You know, look, inflation's gone up, you're taxing everyone, you've annoyed everyone. Show us something that is good from since you've been in power. But it's probably not likely to do anything, because ultimately there has to be a vote of no confidence in the Prime Minister, or the Prime Minister himself has to call the general election. Having a petition is really just an expression of frustration.
Failing that, you could always enter the Great British Giveaway. This year, it is the biggest one we've ever done. £50,000. It is tax-free, and it could be yours.
That'd be nice.
It's our festive treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest ever Great British
Breaking news in the last hour. One person has died and 3 people have been injured after a DHL cargo plane crashed into a house in Lithuania earlier this morning. Officials say the plane was approaching the capital city's main airport in Vilnius. The flight was being operated by Swift Airline on behalf of DHL.
A British man has been taken by Russian forces while fighting on behalf of Ukraine as a mercenary. A video currently circulating online shows the man, who identifies himself as James Scott Rees Anderson. He's a former British Army soldier. Experts say it could be a sign of Russian retaliation after the government allowing Ukraine to use British-made Storm Shadow missiles.
The King's country estate Highgrove has been decorated for Christmas with a host of eco-friendly ornaments, among them a nod to Queen Camilla's beloved Jack Russell Beth, who was put down last week. I was just reading this morning, they're going to get a new doggy, the King and Queen.
Oh, I thought you said you were going to get a new
No,
dog.
I have no dogs for me, but they're going to get a little one to replace Beth.
Do they have, like, loads of corgis the way the Queen did?
No, I don't think anyone else loves corgis in the family. Although somebody took on the Queen's corgis. Was it Sarah?
It was Fergie.
Fergie, yeah.
But yeah, Fergie is Sarah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, same person. No, she likes a Jack Russell, does the Queen, Camilla.
Oh, yes, yeah. Very nice, very nice.
Quite
talking about what people like, I'm fascinated with this story in The Sun today, why mums why mums like me watch porn. And this mum is... she's a mum of 3. She's a loving husband. She's a marketing executive. Her name is Kelly James.
She says it makes her a better mum if she watches it every day before school pickup.
There you are.
Whatever
She's
next.
49 years of age. She's from North London, and she says it's a secret habit, except it's not secret now anymore. But my husband and I have been together for 11 years. I like nookie with him. She doesn't say nookie. But I'm often just too tired to bother. 77% of women say they have watched porn in the past month.
Oh, dear.
The things you don't know that goes on. Or you could read in the Daily Mail why real men adore larger ladies. They are. Or 8 signs that your husband is planning to divorce you. There's another good one.
But don't worry, we'll be getting into the proper stories in the papers.
See, why do you think they aren't proper stories? They're affecting people's lives.
Maybe. I just don't want to hear about mums of 3 watching porn.
Maybe you don't want
or men liking larger ladies. Not really mine.
I don't know. You're
a mum of 2. What do you imply?
You're large enough. That's okay. I like large ladies. Large ladies, nothing wrong with large ladies. Nice ladies.
Unbelievable.
So you could have a large lady who's at home watching porn as we're delivering you the news this morning. And here's the forecast. Greg Dewhurst, morning.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Bert only slowly pulling away after what was a very unsettled weekend for many. A sunshine and blustery showers in the forecast today. Early rain clearing the southeast and then brighter for much of southeast England for the day. But further north and west across the rest of England and Wales, sunny spells, scattered showers. Showers frequent across Northern Ireland and Scotland through the day today. Some of them heavy, giving some longer spells of rain and turning to snow over the Scottish mountains as well. Windy here, gusts of 50 miles an hour possible as Bert only slowly moves away. Blustery elsewhere, but the wind's lighter compared to the weekend and temperatures near average for the time of year, so feeling cooler than they did yesterday. Into the evening time, we could see the centre of Storm Bert just clearing Shetland there. We've got a mixture of clear spells and showers across Scotland, again falling as snow over the higher ground, temperatures in single figures. So a cool end to Monday. Also showers across Northern Ireland stretching into Northern England as well. Frequent showers for Wales, the West Country. Some dry interludes for the Midlands, southeast England. Here, temperatures in single figures as we head through into the evening time. And those showers just continue to push their way eastwards as we end the day and go into the early hours of Tuesday. Perhaps some longer spells of rain developing through the English Channel and affecting some coastal stretches as we head towards the end of the night. Under the clear spells, temperatures dipping away, low single figures, perhaps a touch of frost, staying breezy across northern Scotland with frequent showers here. And Tuesday morning, a wet start here. Elsewhere, some sunny spells, a scattering of showers. After that chilly start, there'll be plenty of sunshine, still the risk of some showers along the south coast, but many parts of England and Wales will be dry with sunny spells. Also Northern Ireland seeing some sunny spells as well. Scotland, a mixture of showers. The winds tending to ease later on as well, and temperatures a little lower, generally reaching 9 or 10 Celsius at best. See you again soon.
We'll see a cold snap, which will quickly develop into a warm front. Boxed Boiler Repairs, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Still to come.
Russian authorities have captured a British man fighting as a volunteer in Ukraine.
Yes, find out what that could mean for the wider conflict next.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Locals in Abingdon in Oxfordshire have signed a petition to keep the name of their local pub, and it's called The Midget. Now, this comes after a university lecturer led an 11-month campaign to change the name of the pub, and the owners, Green King, have caved in. But locals are fighting back, and GB News spoke to one resident, Leanne Thompson, for her thoughts earlier today.
I'm not feeling great about it, to be honest. You know, it's a pub that's been here for a very long time. It's called The Midget after a MG car, and they're changing it to the Roaring Raindrop, which a lot of people are not happy about. We know why they're changing it, but a lady apparently came in who was very upset at the offensive term for the name midget. But nobody here sees it as an offensive term. You don't see the midget and feel any kind of offence towards that. It's named after a car. If she was to actually come, she might actually know more about it, but apparently she's not even been into the pub. She's just heard about it and broadcasted on social media that she wanted the name changed because it's offensive, which as locals don't feel that way. It's the midget. It will always be the midget. And if you look, it's even still on Midget Close. So I don't know if they're going to change it to the Roaring Raindrop Close.
Do you know, you should walk into the Midget now and go, do you serve shorts? And just keep going on the joke. It's named after a car, the MG Midget, that was manufactured in the town of Abingdon for a while. The car was released in 1961. The Boozer was built in 1974, giving huge pride to the area. It wasn't named after midgets, you know, the Snow White and the 7 vertically challenged individuals variety. It's named after a car.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
The Foreign Office says it's supporting the family of a British man after reports of his detention by Russian forces.
Yes, this video has been widely circulated, first posted on the social media website Telegram. The man identifies himself on it as 22-year-old James Anderson, a former signalman who was acting as a mercenary in Ukraine.
Well, to tell us who exactly James Anderson is and why this video is being released now, let's just go to the defence editor of the Evening Standard, Robert Fox. Robert, what do you make of this?
Oh, part of the information and propaganda war, you're absolutely right. And it's interesting, isn't it, that Putin is focusing on the Brits at the moment. He's very angry about the permission to use Storm Shadow missiles. He seems to be almost more angry that the Brits have said that their weapons can be used on Russian targets inside Russia than the use of the American ATACMS missile permitted by Biden. But it's about to be followed by President Macron saying that the French equivalent, the French brother of Storm Shadow, Scalp, is going to be used. He's very cross, and it's very interesting to look at the terms in which he is expressing his anger.
This James Anderson, I mean, how common would he be? I mean, I presume he's been captured somewhere. As you say, the Russians want to make an example of him. They want to say, don't get involved in this because we'll get you in the end. How many James Andersons would there be, and why do they do it? Not just out of love and devotion to Ukraine, I would have thought. Do they get paid for it?
Oh, yes, they do get paid for it. I'm sure that they are mercenaries. They're soldiers for hire. He had a quite short career in the British Army. There are quite a few, but not that many, if you see what I mean. I would think that it's in the double digits, and they are probably from all over Europe. Every conflict I've been involved in, but Bosnia, Croatia, they do fetch up these people. But as I was saying earlier, as we were saying earlier, it's a propaganda gift for Putin, and that's why they're using it. It's very interesting that Russia is using rhetoric that the words of the ambassador to London was saying, "We are at war." Russia is at war with Britain, not that Britain is much aware of it.
Well, there is this NATO Defence Summit taking place. The government, Pat McFadden, will be giving a speech talking about the cyber threat to us here, whether or not we could have electricity switched off, access to our bank accounts. Who knows what they are capable of? I mean, what do you predict, really, as an outcome of our involvement? I mean, I was reading that we've killed 500 North Korean troops in the Kursk region using our British Storm Shadow missiles. And then there's these reports of the hypersonic missiles that could be flying here over 3,000 to 4,000 miles at 8,000 miles per hour, and talking over the weekend about whether we need some sort of iron dome to protect us.
That's quite a menu. Thanks very much. Yeah. No, the cyber attacks are actual. They're happening. They're dozens, even hundreds by the day. Only we're not seeing it. And I think that that's what McFadden is very keen to emphasise. We are in this near war. It is turning from hot peace to real contest. We know the Russians have been taking an unhealthy interest in international cabling, pipelines coming in across the North Sea, in the Irish Sea, and of course the Danes and the Swedes caught an operation to cut communication cables between Finland and Germany. So it is going on, and that's what we're going to hear. They're also preparing for the arrival of President Trump for his second term, and that's why there is a lot of activity behind scenes. The chief of the British Defence Forces, Admiral Radakin, has been in Kiev over the weekend. And indeed, let's go back to the hypersonic missile that was launched after the use of Storm Shadow and ATACMS. What is so interesting about this is it's a new variant, quite a lethal weapon, which can release 60 different warheads and has a potential to be nuclear. That is the Oreshnik launched on Dnipro. What is really interesting is the very strange speech, impromptu, that Putin gave live on television to follow that, in which he threatened a widening war in Europe and the potential for a widening war in South Asia. So that's where the North Korean connection is coming in. It's looking very ominous. He's also looking actually quite desperate.
Looking very ominous, as you say. Just finally, and briefly as you can, Robert, this guy James Anderson, is he on his own? Would Britain be interested in negotiating his release? Or what happens next to him, do you think?
I think they would be interested in negotiating his release very much as with any British citizen, but up to a point. We don't know who else they've been captured. Allegedly, the first reports are that he was captured in fighting around Kharkiv, not Kursk, and he would have been with a unit of the International Brigade. And so the chances are that others have been taken with him. Whether they're Brits or not, we do not know. But first of all, it will be consular activities. I don't think there would be a major militarization about this, for instance, about further use of Storm Shadow.
OK. Robert, really appreciate your take. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Right, still to come. 40 years ago today, Band Aid's iconic charity song, Do They Know It's Christmas, stormed the charts. But all these years later, it's facing a backlash. Is it outdated? Find out why. We'll be debating it next.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. A number of roads across parts of England and Wales are closed this morning because of flooding. There's widespread disruption to a number of train services, and in Northamptonshire, the Northampton station is flooded, so trains are unable to run through Northampton between Rugby and Milton Keynes Central. On the M1 in Bedfordshire, 2 out of 4 lanes are closed southbound, where overnight roadworks have overrun. Between junctions 13 and 12 from Bedford to the Toddington and Flitwick turn, there are delays towards and past there, not helped by a breakdown along that stretch too. On the M1 in London, the southbound exit at junction 2 for the A1 at 5 Waste Corner is blocked by an accident. There are queues from junction 4 at Edgware. On the M3 in Hampshire, there's a lane closed southbound for emergency repairs at junction 14 for the M27, causing queues.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here
We do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Today, an interesting day. 40 years ago today, 40 years, Band-Aids, Do They Know It's Christmas was first released and stormed to the top of the charts.
But now it's created some other kind of storm. Lots of people being offended by the lyrics, even though, of course, its intent was to raise lots of money. Mid-Jury, who wrote the Band-Aid song with Bob Geldof, says it's just a pop song, but it gets a lot wrong from the title onwards. Of course, it famously says, do they know it's Christmas at all? Well, the Times have done a big spread on it in their paper today, talking about how Ethiopia adopted Christianity 2,000 years before we did. We were pagan and for 2 centuries longer than Ethiopia. Do they know? Will there be snow? Sorry, in Africa? Well, there definitely is snow, including on Ethiopia's Simeon Mountains, apparently. And another lyric, where nothing ever grows or no rain or river flows. And the Times points out that Africa is a continent of farmers who produce a lot, including 70% of the world's cocoa, and it has 2 rivers, respectively the longest and deepest on Earth.
But in the wrong places.
That's absolutely ridiculous. Look, when it came out, I remember when it came out, what Geldof and Major and everyone was doing it was saying, while we are spending our money on presents and eating food, do those people in other lands actually know? Can they celebrate the same? And look, why don't we do something and get together and spend a few bob and send it over there?
I agree, and it's a figurative thing, and when you look at the awful scenes that were coming out of Africa that particular year, and people like Michael Burke reporting on it for the BBC, and those are the images that stays in people's minds. And all this stupid political point scoring over what may be literate or
It was
not.
about a famine in Ethiopia. It wasn't the whole of Africa, but it's all been conflated and everyone's offended by everything.
Well, let's take a look at the song and remind ourselves some of the best bits or worst bits.
And they're so young.
Us 3 are all similar age, and that just brought me back to when that was released and the magic of it. And we, as teenagers or maybe slightly older, had never seen that conglomeration of stars in one studio.
No, exactly right. It was a completely different world back then. And I think that they all got... They're young people. Did you say? They're young people. They're in their early 20s, and they're coming together and they're doing a bit of good. And then 40 years later, you want to hammer them.
Well, Ed Sheeran was included in a sort of rehash of this, and he wasn't asked if his voice could be used, and he came out saying, actually, I don't want to be involved, guys. And he retweeted a comment from a Ghanaian English rap artist who said that the Band-Aid lyrics perpetuate damaging stereotypes that stifle Africa's economic growth, tourism and investment, and fuel pity rather than partnership. It's reductionist.
But saved hundreds and thousands of lives that they did at the time.
Well, here's is it outdated, I suppose, is the debate.
Let's have that debate now with Stephanie Tetchy, friend of the programme, entertainment reporter and music industry veteran. We say good morning, Nick Stewart, who's there. And Nick, you don't really see what the problem is. But first of all, let's go to Stephanie and let's hear what she believes to be the problem.
You know, Eamonn and Isabel, I do believe, like,
for Band-Aid, the heart was in the right place. It is definitely a goodwill cause, but 40 years later, the magic has gone. Africa has really progressed as a continent now. You've got really big players. And when we're talking about this continent, we're talking about 54 countries here. So the problem with this song, it tarnishes the whole continent as poverty-stricken, which is not the case. And the problem is Africa relies heavily on tourism. So I think when you get these kind of songs which make it out as it's poverty-stricken, it's wrong. There's some big players in Africa, such as Nigeria, Morocco, South Africa, Egypt, where the economy is so strong. And I think, you know, the
People
problem
are dying in
this day and age,
Sudan.
they are dying in Sudan, but make that be the focus of the song then. You cannot tarnish Africa with one brush, and I think that is the problem in this day and age. And the problem with people being so sensitive these days, and I don't mean no offense by this, but it's that almost white savior complex which Africa is trying to distance itself from. And my problem with this song as well, how many of these artists have actually gone to Africa beyond Christmas? Africa is not just about Christmas, it's all year round. So how many of them have actually continue doing work with Africa all year round?
Well,
And
let's get
for
the
me,
thoughts then. Go on.
And also for me, it's like, don't give us lip service about how the song has helped. Show us how over the 40 years you've helped change the narrative of Africa itself.
OK, fair enough. Let's get Nick Stewart's point in all of this, a music industry veteran. I mean, is this white saviour complex here?
Well, that was a really... I was fascinated to listen to Stephanie there, and I remember sitting in my office in Island Records in 1984 watching Michael Burke's film, which was about people dying in Ethiopia. It wasn't about Africa. I mean, to conflate what goes on in Johannesburg, Cape Town, Laos, and other places in Africa with one specific terrible tragedy going on in Ethiopia, I think is misleading, Stephanie.
Well, I suppose Michael Burke very famously chose his words very carefully, and he isn't accused of conflating what he was describing with the whole of Africa. But, you know, as Stephanie's making the point, there are booming, successful economies in there, which, according to the lyrics of this old-fashioned song, Stephanie would argue, sort of drags them down.
It's a pop song. It's quite difficult. It's, as Meteor said, putting Ethiopia in the lyric, it doesn't snow in Ethiopia, didn't scan. So again, you know, it doesn't relate to the whole of Africa. I mean, I think that's an important point. And the key thing was that all those young guys and girls and everybody, the only old ones who turned up actually were status quo, let's not forget them. But they turned up there because they were wound up by the great Geldof, who really was incredibly important in making this happen and is still involved in it now. So the amount of effort that's going on, he is still involved.
How is he involved? How is he involved? And what does Bob Geldof show that he's doing all year round? You come up with this song every Christmas. What has changed over the last 4 decades with this song that it's done? You get all these artists together, but beyond this song, no one is talking about Africa. That is my problem. It seems like a very big marketing ploy that they still want to continue riding the back of the success of 40 years later. And it's change. Ethiopia is now one of the top 5 countries in Africa with a booming economy. I'm not saying what they've done is wrong, but I'm saying maybe change the messaging, focus on one part of Africa that you think needs aid each year rather than making it, banding it all together.
Well, rather than just, Stephanie, rather than just read out a whole lot of stuff from the Sunday Times Culture magazine where Geldof is interviewed yesterday, there's a lot in there. About what he's doing and about the money that's been continually raised. I just think that sometimes we all get ourselves in a little bit of a muddle about something that is basically started out for a good purpose. It has been done a couple of times before. If Ed Sheeran doesn't want to have his vocals on the new mix, that's his privilege and prerogative.
Do you see that a little bit, Steph, that it is just a pop song and actually maybe this is going to do harm in terms of donations and actually people will go, well, I don't want to offend anyone, and actually it would have been better if people just carried on, you know, donating to Live Aid 40 years on?
I agree. It's not about getting offence. It's not about anyone getting sensitive here, not at all. Because as I said, the whole point of this song is a goodwill cause. My problem is it needs to keep up with the times. 40 years later, we cannot be still singing the same tune from 40 years ago, and we need to reflect the continent, how it looks today.
Okay.
So if you need to hammer in on a specific need, do that with the song, but do not tarnish the whole continent.
Okay.
Guys, happy Christmas to both of you. May people not be starving in Africa, wherever it is, and keep on giving wherever it's needed. Thank you both very much indeed. When you just look, I was just thinking of the lineup. You had people like Phil Collins was there, George Michael, Bono, Bob Geldof, who we mentioned there as well. Paul McCartney.
Yeah, just absolutely amazing. And to answer Stephanie, look, I ran a charity in Nigeria for 15 years. And I got taken advantage of. So lots of people do go there, do want to do good work. I was drilling boreholes, I was doing microfinance, I was doing business development, and what I found is that my small little charity will be investing money, and then the same money would have been gone from the European Union, American stuff, we're being taken advantage of. So people do try and do good stuff on the ground all year round when you're not hearing that song, and you get taken advantage of. Now, look, one incident doesn't, you know, I don't want to cover all of Nigeria, but I want to show some people do get down there on the ground and roll up their sleeves and still get taken advantage of.
Guys, got to take a break there, and we'll be back talking to you about more stories making the news today right after this.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark Meets and My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Friday night live with Mark Dolan from 8 p.m.
You know, whenever I want to have a laugh, I will fire up a Ricky Gervais special on Netflix. He's funny, isn't he? Very politically incorrect. I might watch a vintage episode of Fawlty Towers if it hasn't been cancelled. Or I could just read up on the latest musings from the Welsh Labour government. And this week they have waged war on the countryside, which is apparently unwelcoming to British people of colour. Well, it's true, isn't it? I mean, those racial checkpoints in the Wye Valley are completely unacceptable. And the snowy bits of Mount Snowdon scream white privilege. Can you believe this story? It's proof, if you needed it, that Welsh Labour are barking mad and talking a load of shih tzu.
I think what's so interesting about this, I mean, this is an absurd question. This is ridiculous. Obviously, dogs and the countryside are not inherently racist. I think this entire connection between what is effective cultural Marxism, in addition to what is effective socialism, that is at the heart of Welsh Labour and many other hard-left groups in the United Kingdom.
I got to do a correction.
Go
because
on.
It's not Welsh Labour. It was one little thinky-tanky that did some research. I know it was taxpayer funded, but it was just a suggestion. Welsh Labour have not gone, yes, that's a good idea. This research, which I wholly agree is quite absurd, was done by interviewing the 4% ethnic minorities of Wales, and they came out with the fact that they don't feel welcome in green spaces because there are so many dogs, and that's how this was born. I mean, I don't know whether that makes it make any more sense.
And the fact that taxpayers are footing the bill for research like this is the real scandal. We had this earlier conversation about the National Health Service, where all of our money is going and being wasted, and it is also being wasted on absolute nonsense like this.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We are looking through the papers in the company of Dawn and Chris Akabusi, and we just wanted to talk about this general election petition because the papers weirdly haven't covered it a huge amount, but you go online, there's lots about it, and obviously millions of people, well, over 1 million people have already signed it, and it's breaking lots of records, and lots of you at home have been getting in touch about it this morning. Henry says, signing the online general election petition will hopefully give our dictators an idea of what we think about their actions so far. Ida says, Labour government, keep your dignity, just say sorry, you failed your country and your people, pack your bags and resign.
We already know Labour's attitude to it. So the Huffington Post had a good story over the weekend, basically Labour saying, well, we won, suck it up. We're not going to do anything in any case. Look, we know this won't cause a general election, but I think it's a way for people to express how angry they are.
A bloody nose.
After 4 months. Just 4 months since the general election. It's a way to express how angry they are. If you look at the map also on the petition page, it's amazing. It's all over the country. It's nationwide, particularly the North East, which is, obviously, it was a big Brexit voting area, but it was also, it's an old-school Labour area. But you're right, Isabel, to mention the Brexit petition as well. That got over 6 million signatures. Nothing was done about that. And, you know, people are saying, well, Labour have lied to us, and you could argue that people were lied to over the whole Brexit referendum as well. I'm not saying that, but that's what people are saying. So it's like nothing's going to happen, but I think it's a way for people to express how angry they are, and that's what I think is important.
It's embarrassing.
But I think the Brexit one was 6 million over time. This is in 24 hours.
Yes, no.
You've got 2 million people in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Now, what is clear is that it's easy to gerrymander the email petition, so 2 million could be 500, but nonetheless.
Well, Elon Musk retweeted it, didn't he?
Yes.
And that jumped significantly by half a million, just by his retweet.
Yeah. But also interesting on there is a section of that petition page where you can notify your local MP that you have signed this petition. And so I think it's a way of people expressing to their local MP, I'm very angry about what you're doing.
Well, it's very interesting. Let's watch where that goes with interest. Meanwhile, where should we go?
Chris, here's a story, and I think whether it's how you use people who are in prison, whether that is cleaning up the roads or being trained for something else. So in the Times, it's a story about a proposal that why don't you train people while they're in prison so that they're ready for the job market?
Yeah, so Lord Timpson, the real thing behind this is Lord Timpson. And the Timpsons
met him. Amazing man. An amazing man.
Absolutely phenomenal family. They employ convicts, ex-convicts, all right, in key cutting and shoes, and they're lovely, giving the young person, the convict, a second opportunity. And it's clear that once the convict gets into work, looks after his family, I say he, could be a she, they are less likely to offend recidivism. So actually, this is a good story that you're providing avenues for convicts in the last 6 months of their time to engage with the business and you can have them in social care, you can have them in retail, you can have them in construction.
Do you though? I mean, genuinely. Yes. Well, look, I'm all for rehabilitation and I feel really strongly about trying to give people who've done something wrong a second chance. I fundamentally believe and agree with that.
Convict.
Social. I don't know if I want Granny to be nursed by someone who's come fresh out of jail. I just don't. Hospitality's got a huge number of shortages. Yeah. Do you necessarily want people who've come straight out of the bank?
Yeah,
I know. It depends what their crime is. If they've been violent killers.
Oh, well, that's different. Well, I'm sure if they've been violent killers, they won't be doing this. No, it's Isabel. I was in the children's home. At 16, I joined the army. I can guarantee you, if I hadn't joined the army, I would have been in Nick. A lot of the kids that I was with, they were in Nick. Not because I'm a bad kid, but I'm easily led. I've not idolised mum and dad, and I've gone and nicked. I mean, now you can nick from Sainsbury's, but back then, if you nicked, you were in. I would want a second chance because I'm now at 65.
I do agree. I just think there needs to be I suppose, limits to what you're eligible for based on what your crime has been.
I think provided there are checks and balances.
There would be checks and balances.
I don't ever know if these things work.
Oh, no, there would be. No, there would be. And again, I've done a lot of work with youngsters who could go that way, but if you spend time and give them the opportunity to have a little bit of success, you're surprised how they elevate. Sark Mackenzie did it for me, we can do it for them.
Yeah.
I love this story. Give these guys a chance.
Yeah, I agree.
Dawn, the way we tend to socialise now, big nights out apparently are being exchanged for daytime sessions.
Yes.
And people prefer to then be in bed early after
This is perfect for people that do breakfast TV shows. Chris and I are after the pub after this. But booze lovers have ditched big nights out for daytime sessions because we want to go to bed early, basically, and it avoids getting a hangover. So this is pub bosses are reporting the busiest hours and hours afternoon rather than evenings. It used to be between 8 and 10, and now it is between 3 and 4, the busiest time for people to go to the pub and have a few drinks. And then they normally go home by 8 o'clock for an early night. This says so they can be in the gym the next day. I'm more convinced as to avoid a hangover.
That's lies. When we were soldiers, Friday night was happy hour. Happy hour was like 3 to 4.
Yeah.
You have a few jars.
Yeah.
By about 7, 8 o'clock, you're in the Pigs bar. You got Asbeck and cola, and you are gone, baby.
Yeah, what he said, basically.
You've been drinking all day. That's 6 hours. You're on the binge, and then you go down to Barnoff. That's in Germany, the train station.
Is it still like that, do you reckon?
I haven't got a dolly. I don't have a clue.
Well, ask your kids. Ask your kids. I completely understand it, but my body clock is set to getting up early and working
I can't
early.
handle late nights.
Going out late at night.
Though I was out last week until 2 a.m.
Naughty!
God, on my body clock, I get up at 3 a.m, so that was like an all-nighter. Dirty stuff out. Unbelievable. Should we talk about Oliver Twist, Dawn? This is Inside the Mail. Culture today is a minefield with every supposedly classic book well, possibly causing hurtful attitudes.
It's a satirical book, basically. It's adapted from a book called You Can't Say That Anymore by an author called Ivor Virtue. I wonder if that's his real name. But it's going through all the childhood classics that we all loved in particular, like, you know, Oliver Twist would need completely rewriting because it stigmatised those living in food poverty, and asking for extra portion, can I have some more, please, encourages child obesity. It's just ripping the mickey out of all the woke stuff that goes on. I was very careful what I said there. And Romeo and Juliet, you know, even Shakespeare doesn't escape this. So you can't. That needs rewriting because it contains unprotected sex, unsafe and unsupervised balcony usage.
Oh, come on.
And you talked about Tigger, didn't you? Talk about Tigger.
What's Tigger?
Oh, Tigger, yeah, Winnie the Pooh. You can't read Winnie the Pooh anymore because Milne's characters are clearly intended to mock people with neurodivergence and mental health challenges. Rabbit had chronic anxiety. Tigger had ADHD, or is perpetually in the up phase of bipolar. Well, we can't even go near Kangaroo. I can't read that bit out. But yeah, all these childhood classics need rewriting. Mr. Toad from Wind of the Willows should drive a Tesla.
Chris, what's Colin Rooney's opinion of Donald Trump?
So, Colin Rooney, obviously she's in the jungle. Is it jungle?
10 seconds,
yeah. Yeah, OK. So, Baron Trump... Donald Trump goes, see to Baron, I told you if you play football, you get all the good birds.
There you go.
And he said...
You can't say birds, you can't say that anymore.
No, it wasn't me, that was Mr. Trump.
Isabel and I are real...
We'll see a cold snap, which will quickly develop into a warm front. Boxed Boiler Repairs, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Bert only slowly pulling away after what was a very unsettled weekend for many. Sunshine and blustery showers in the forecast today. Early rain clearing the southeast and then brighter for much of southeast England for the day. But further north and west across the rest of England and Wales, sunny spells, scattered showers. Showers frequent across Northern Ireland and Scotland through the day today. Some of them heavy, giving some longer spells of rain and turning to snow over the Scottish mountains as well. Windy here, gusts of 50 miles an hour possible as Bert only slowly moves away. Blustery elsewhere, but the wind's lighter compared to the weekend and temperatures near average for the time of year, so feeling cooler than they did yesterday. Into the evening time, we could see the centre of Storm Bert just clearing Shetland there. We've got a mixture of clear spells and showers across Scotland, again falling as snow over the higher ground, temperatures in single figures. So a cool end to Monday. Also showers across Northern Ireland stretching into Northern England as well. Frequent showers for Wales, the West Country. Some dry interludes for the Midlands, South East England. Here, temperatures in single figures as we head through into the evening time. And those showers just continue to push their way eastwards as we end the day and go into the early hours of Tuesday. Perhaps some longer spells of rain developing through the English Channel and affecting some coastal stretches as we head towards the end of the night. Under the clear spells, temperatures dipping away, low single figures, perhaps a touch of frost, staying breezy across northern Scotland with frequent showers here. And Tuesday morning, a wet start here. Elsewhere, some sunny spells, a scattering of showers. After that chilly start, there'll be plenty of sunshine, still the risk of some showers along the south coast, but many parts of England and Wales will be dry with sunny spells. Also Northern Ireland seeing some sunny spells as well. Scotland, a mixture of showers. The winds tending to ease later on as well, and temperatures a little lower, generally reaching 9 or 10 Celsius at best. See you again soon.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. There's widespread disruption this morning because of flooding across parts of England and Wales, with a number of roads closed and a number of train services suspended too, especially across parts of the southwest of England. Northampton railway station is closed because it's flooded, so trains can't run through Northampton between Rugby and Milton Keynes Central. The M4 in Bridgend is partly blocked eastbound by an accident between junctions 35 and 34 from Pencoed to Miskin, taking 20 minutes in the queues. In Essex, the A12 is blocked northbound by an accident between junctions 17 and 18 near Chelmsford, causing delays. On the M1 in London, the southbound exit at junction 2 for the A1 at Five Ways Corner is closed because of an accident, with queues from junction 4 at Edgware. And on the M3 in Hampshire, there's a lane closed southbound for repairs at junction 14 for the M27, causing queues.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
It's our festive treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest ever Great British giveaway.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and he did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Storm Bert leaves a trail of destruction with hundreds of warnings still in place.
At least 5 deaths since the storm hit and a major incident declared in South Wales.
The First Minister, Ellen Morgan, rallies around her people, describing the situation as devastating.
MPs backing the assisted dying bill claim they have enough support for it to pass, but could a split in the cabinet cause chaos?
Russian forces have reportedly taken a former British soldier while fighting for Ukraine as a mercenary, parading him in a video doing the rounds online. Could this be the start of Putin's punishment for Labour's decision to let Ukraine use British Storm Shadow missiles?
The annual Confederation of British Industry is taking place today as businesses unite to warn Labour their tax rises will stunt economic growth.
Drink spiking will be made its own criminal offence as Labour make good on their promise to curb violence against women.
Research shows more than half of us expect food prices to rise thanks to the inheritance tax raid on farmers. The Lib Dem Chief Whip joined us a little earlier.
It's important that we remember, particularly on food prices, those have gone up in excess of expectations. The government really have got this one wrong.
We saw disruption from Storm Bert over the weekend, only slowly clearing away today. Find out all the weather details coming up in the programme soon.
Hello there. A very good morning to you on this Monday morning. Thanks for your company. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Isabel Webster and this is GB News Breakfast.
Finding out how Storm Bert over the weekend has affected so many of you, and it really has.
It's ravaged the country, and not just Wales, but right across the country in all different reaches and corners. And we're going to be live for...
It's funny you should say that, where it's affected. Never as a child do I remember Belfast being flooded, experiencing flooding. Not this week, completely different. And I'm thinking, the geography, where exactly is being flooded? Why? I've never had to worry about not getting through that street, or we're not getting through that street with my car being hijacked or burnt or something, but not being flooded.
Yeah, and all these trees coming down, so many trees. I think Kew Gardens had to close yesterday because of the risk of these old trees.
Once I was in a car park. I'll not tell you why I was in the car park. I was in the car park, and it was lunchtime, and there was a noise like I've never heard. And it was a full tree cracking, breaking and falling down. I've only heard, the noise similar I've heard to it is an iceberg breaking up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Imagine like a really loud clap of thunder, something like that. Horrible.
Incredible.
Well, the disruption doesn't look set to end yet, actually. 200 flood alerts remain in place and a major incident ongoing in South Wales.
As regards flights, we're hearing 300 cancelled so far. This is, remember, only the second storm of the season.
So is the worst over, or is it just the beginning of a season of storms?
Let's go to our reporter, Adam Cherry. Adam, you're in Pontypridd today, and you're there the morning after the night before.
Yeah, morning, guys. That's right. I've been speaking to local people all morning to find out their views, and I'm joined now live by a member of the senior leadership team of the local council, Christian Hannigan. Christian, good morning. Thank you for joining us. First of all, you've been working, we were talking off camera, you've been working the last 24 hours or more. What have you seen? What's been going on?
OK, so the council has prepared for a major weather event since last Thursday. So we've stood up all our resources in expectation of there being a significant amount of rain that was originally anticipated within the forecast, and you will have noted the comments of our council leader recently in terms of the weather forecasting and the projection of those weather totals. But despite the reduction that took place in the anticipated level and risk of the weather event, the council maintained our resources at that level, expecting for this to be a severe weather event. And as you will of course be aware, we then declared with our colleagues in South Wales Fire and Rescue a major incident yesterday morning around 10 o'clock in response to what was clearly having a major impact across Rhondda and Taff, and obviously that was slightly different in its context to what we experienced in Storm Dennis. So that was the last major flooding event in Rhondda and Taff back in 2020, where the impact this time was much more widespread across the county borough. So not just in our principal town, but we are here now in Pontypridd, but across Rhondda and Taff. So what we did was stood up all our resources to make sure drains and gullies were cleared of obviously the leaves that are around at this time of year, just to make sure we made every preparatory effort possible to limit and reduce the impact that was unfortunately inevitable when you have a month's worth of rain in the course of 24 hours.
So one of the frustrations that local people have been telling us on the channel this morning is that they didn't feel they were actually given sufficient warning. What happened there?
Okay, I mean, I think there are certainly lessons to be learned. And both ourselves and the other agencies involved will consider those over the next couple of weeks. You will have heard the comments of our council leader in respect of the responsibilities of Natural Resources Wales in respect to those areas. So, for example, we are right next to the River Taff here. Natural Resources Wales are the responsible flood authority in those arrangements, and there has been questions raised in terms of the window of opportunity that was provided by the alerts that were given, and obviously that brings into that discussion the level of the weather forecast and the severity of the weather forecast that was provided by the Met Office.
Christian, thank you very much for joining us here on GBNews.
No problem. Thank you.
Appreciate it. There you go, guys. So lessons to be learned, but also questions for Natural Resources Wales, why they didn't declare the emergency soon enough, perhaps, and would that have given the local people more time to prepare?
Cheers, Adam.
What
Thank
a difference the day makes. Look at the sun just over his shoulder behind you there, Adam. The sun's coming out to help dry things up a little bit today, but, 24 hours is a long time. After a storm like this. I was just reading an update on some of the areas that have also been affected. Lots of flooding in Towcester this morning. High-sided vehicles in Cumbria and also in Yorkshire have been experiencing problems. The M32 in Bristol closed for a large part of the night, which is one of the main artery roads into the city. We are hoping at some point to pop up to be live from Scotland, where we know the ferries to the Isle of Arran have also been affected all weekend. And, of course, they are a tiny island there, so they need to reconnect with the mainland ASAP. Lots of queues, but we're keeping a close eye on all of those issues for you this morning.
The government is reportedly split over the assisted dying bill. The vote on that's going to happen in Parliament on Friday.
But it follows a string of senior Labour figures coming out against assisted dying, including the former Prime Minister Gordon Brown, as well as current Cabinet ministers, including the Justice Secretary, the Health Secretary, the Education Secretary and the Science Secretary.
But while the government may be split, MPs sponsoring the bill are confident there is enough support for it to pass. Let's get more from our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, on this one. Catherine, what are you hearing?
Yes, good morning, both. Well, it's rather different to when this bill first came to Parliament just a few weeks ago, when the assumption was that it would definitely pass because of the huge number of Labour MPs now in Parliament. Now, Kim Leadbeater, who's brought forth this private members bill, of course, it's a conscience bill, so MPs can vote according to their personal views. Her supporters are confident it will pass if everybody who said that they will support it actually comes to vote. But people opposed to the bill have said that it's on a knife edge, and there have been some very, very high-profile Labour opponents to this bill, not least among the Cabinet. Bridget Phillipson, the Education Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, the Justice Secretary, she has said that it would be a slippery slope towards death on demand. And also Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary. Wes Streeting and Shabana Mahmood, of course, the people who, if this passes, will be tasked with implementing it. Both opposed to it. Wes Streeting concerned about the cost to the NHS and also saying that palliative care simply is not good enough and the focus should be on that. He's very worried about people feeling simply that they are a burden and that it would be better and cheaper for the NHS or for their families if they were not here. So a huge mix of opinion. Worth saying that at the moment, Kim Leadbeater says that the safeguards will be, she says, the strictest in the world. It will require 2 doctors to sign this off and a High Court judge. But a lot of concern that even if it starts with being just the terminally ill, which is what the bill says, that ultimately it could be broadened, as we've seen in Canada, where we now have a situation that people who are depressed. We've had military veterans suffering from PTSD who've been guided towards MAID, they call it there, medical assistance in dying. Even disabled people, a lady in a wheelchair who was told by a nurse that she wasn't living, she was simply existing. That, of course, is the slippery slope argument. We will find out on Friday afternoon. There will be 5 hours of debate on this.
OK, Catherine, thanks very much.
Leave it there. Let's get to the poll of the day. The question today, do you want another general election? Do you want it right now?
So far, 98% of you say yes, just 2% aren't in favour of another election. Just judging by the comments that have been coming in thick and fast this morning, Maisie says it's not even about getting a new general election, it's about the wider public showing our discontent. Dan says if a government has broken its manifesto pledges so blatantly and dishonestly, why should we wait 5 years to let them know how we feel about that? I mean, I suppose the government will probably say that's how democracy works. Ed will say we all know that Labour will ignore this petition, and if questioned, they'll make excuses that it was signed by the same people multiple times. Let us know, indeed, what you think about that. But so far, you have been voting with your feet quite resoundingly in favour of another.
I think it's pretty safe to say they want it, and they want it now. Martin Dobney, though, at 3 o'clock, he'll have the final result on that one.
gbnews.com/poll if you'd like to cast your vote and haven't already.
OK, great news now, the Great British Giveaway, and it is great, and it is British, and we are giving it away, and it is an amazing, it's our biggest prize yet of
£50,000, and it's all tax-free. Here's how it could be yours.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Indeed, that would be very welcome, I think, for a lot of people at the moment.
Oh, yes.
Or any time.
Any time. Welcome, welcome, yes, welcome to my house. We're going to be discussing last night's documentary on Channel 4. Did you see it? Queen Camilla, the wicked stepmother. How wicked was she painted to be? I guess she came up with a nickname as well. We'll tell you next.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Let's talk to Roger Kisker, who is the legal counsel for the Christian Legal Centre. Good morning, Roger. I'm really impressed, actually, by the fact that this school is taking the government to court on this. It's the only way we might get any sort of change. How important is it for these families who find a local religious school to keep their children in there? And are they all billionaires awash with cash?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, this is about the fundamental right to educate your children in conformity with your religious beliefs. That's a right guaranteed under the European Convention of Human Rights. And any legislation, primary or secondary, has to be compatible with that convention. And so the basis of our claim is that this is an unfair tax because every country in the EU, first of all, it was by directive that there was no VAT on private education. In the Council of Europe, which is 56 member states, there are no other countries which put VAT on private education. This is an attack on school choice, and this is an attack on honest, hardworking parents who simply want to have their kids educated in a manner which they want them to be raised by themselves. And that in a democratic nation should be a given.
Obviously, Labour's logic being, just to provide some balance here, Roger, is that families who send their children to private school can afford the extra 20%. Whether they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children at school, they should be able to afford it, and the schools should be able to absorb some of that cost. And that money will be spent in the state sector. Can you see the logic behind the reasoning?
To be honest, I can't, because not every school is Eton. Not every parent has the means to send their children to private education.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
On your telly box last night, there was I'm a Celebrity, and if you weren't watching I'm a Celebrity, you may well have been tuned to Channel 4's documentary, Queen Camilla, the Wicked Stepmother?
Yes.
Question mark.
Yeah, and it's raised a few eyebrows. It claims to uncover how the once mistress of King Charles transformed herself into the adored monarch that she is today. Let's have a little look at some of it now.
I think Charles's office were pretty cold-blooded in the way they used Harry, misrepresenting facts in order to portray his father and his mistress in a better light.
The reaction that's been coming in on this one hasn't been, well, it's been mixed. Well, certainly hasn't been positive. The Times brands it a ranty mess, and The Guardian questioning, well, what was the point of it?
Well, earlier we asked the editor-at-large of the Mail on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths, about Prince Harry's comments that led to the documentary.
In 2018, he was really positive about her and said she was lovely and she was a great woman. But obviously, later down the line, when he needed to sell books and appear on Netflix, the narrative changed and she became, as he says, the villain and the wicked stepmother. But at some point, he obviously quite got on with her. And the other thing is, I'm quite surprised in a way that Meghan didn't find it within herself to get on with Camilla, because they have a very similar story. They were completely vilified by the press and had endured horrible, horrible headlines about them for years and years and years. In a way, they should have kind of formed an alliance. But of course, the opposite has happened. And now Harry is one of those people that joins the voices of negative headlines and creates negative headlines about her because he calls her a villain on national American television.
I must say, Charlotte, you know, I think I've met all the royals at one stage or another. And when I met Camilla,
She's your favourite, isn't she?
She as I say to her openly, I said, here's my favourite royal. She is, well, you can only speak as you find, but she is a delightful woman. And she's got huge interest in like domestic violence, things like credit unions, which a lot of people won't know what those are. But she's spoken to me in depth, and she's written me letters when I got an OBE, for instance, as well. I don't call round there for a cup of tea or anything, but I find that she goes out of her way to be personable.
Yeah, people say she's the most down to earth. I mean, she couldn't be less like Prince Harry and Meghan are these days. She's, you know, she famously used to love smoking a fag and having a gin and tonic. I mean, in a way, she fits right into the royal family. She loves dogs. She loves horses. She did have a reputation at one time for being work shy, but boy, in the last year or two, she is at every single event. She'd had a chest infection recently, but she still managed to go to an event or two. And then she had to pull out again of the Royal Variety performance. But she's working, she's doing double time to help Charles because he's obviously going through cancer treatment. And yeah, as you say, Eamonn, people tend to love her when they meet her because she just cracks the odd joke, seems very relaxed, just seems like a normal person who just wants to kick back with a good book at the end of the day and, you know, enjoy life, really.
Okay. I kind of object to the way she's described as the king's mistress. I mean, they wanted to be together. They were star-crossed lovers.
It would have been easier to back out of a relationship, one would have thought. She's a very interesting woman, and you can only speak as you find. I find her to be a very nice person as well, very engaging, good crack, sense of humour, whatever. Andrew Pearce and Ellie Costello were here now, and Andrew Pearce being Andrew Pearce, I bet you know her personally.
I've known her a bit. I used to do the royal bit on the Telegraph, remember, for a few years. I was the royal editor, so I got to know her a bit, and I met her at quite a few events, and we've got mutual friends. I like her.
I like her too. Yeah.
And look, there is a history of Diana and the relationship with Charles, and Diana saying that the relationship's crowded. There were three of us, and we know that Harry has a problem because he's so rude about her in his book. But I think Harry was appallingly ill-mannered. And wicked stepmother, not fair.
It's not fair. It's not good.
Where's your microphone? Is his microphone working?
Oh, it is there. Maybe it's not switched on.
Maybe nobody wants to hear from me.
He speaks so quietly anyway. I'm fed up. What did you say? What?
But it's muckraking, isn't it, this documentary? We've moved on from the comments in Spare, surely, and the nation has embraced her.
It's the worst possible timing for her as well, because she's been unwell, hasn't she, in recent weeks? Her dog died last week, and now this documentary...
But you know what? She's tough.
She is tough.
She's tough as hell.
And I think she's really good for the king.
Eamonn makes the point. She could have walked away from all of this. In the real world, did she ever envisage becoming the Queen, HOH? I don't think so.
No, I don't think
she could have walked away. It's because she loves him. And he needs her around, and the staff around
she seems to bring out the best.
I can always remember staff saying, when she's not around, he's, quotes, scratchy. It's a good word, scratchy. When Camilla's there, calm.
Yeah, well, everyone needs somebody like that.
Yeah, she does seem really good for him. When I was in Southend, when Southend became a city, the two of them came to be a part of that ceremony, and they were giggling away together, they were whispering each other's ears. I mean, they are very playful together, it seems.
You see, I would have thought that Meghan had something to learn watching how Camilla had come to terms was integrated in the royal family, and you would have thought if she wanted to seek advice, she could have gone to Camilla and said, Camilla, how does this all work? What have I got to do here?
And the person who did take advice from her was Catherine, now Princess of Wales. She almost did a little apprenticeship under her. Camilla took her under her wing, helped her, advised her, because she was the outsider coming in. And look how brilliantly the Princess of Wales has done. But of course, Meghan knows everything. Meghan doesn't need help. She knows everything.
Yeah, we've got 2 minutes just still to talk about what you guys plan to do for the rest of the morning.
Well, we're going to be talking about this British man who's been captured by Russian forces whilst fighting for Ukraine. He's only 22 years old. We're going to be getting the details on that. Will he be, tortured?
Price you pay, isn't it?
Used as a bargaining chip? And is it the price that you pay to go to fight for Ukraine? We're also going to be talking about that petition, aren't we?
I think this petition's amazing. This is massive buyer's remorse, isn't it? This petition only launched mid-afternoon on Saturday, smashed through 1 million votes in less than 24 hours. People want the petition now. Parliament has a duty to at least look at a petition if it goes above 100,000 signatures. It's never going to happen. But my word, most new governments have a honeymoon. This one's had a nightmare from day one.
Yeah, it's an embarrassment, isn't it? This petition, and it's probably going to continue to grow. What point does it end, the petition?
Well, it can just go on endlessly.
It's on 1.8 million, when I just checked a minute ago. It'll be on 2 million by this afternoon, won't it?
I'm sure it will be, And it's embarrassing for Sir Keir Starmer as he keeps trying to put his government on the front foot. But, winter fuel...
Yeah, where to start?
Hiking national insurance, farmers in revolt.
The CPI speeches today. That'd be interesting from the Chancellor, trying to convince everyone she's a party of business.
Yeah, having told them all before the election. I was at the big Labour Party conference with reception for the business community. They were rammed into that room. All praise Rachel Reeves. She wooed them.
Andrew? According to the
Does she think she's Margaret Thatcher? Because I can tell you, Thatcher she is not. Thank you very much.
Oh dear.
Thatcher would be very proud of some of her policies that are coming. They're very, very Tory-like, one would have thought. Guys, we'll look ahead to that. Have a good show. Thank you very much indeed for your time. And Miss Isabel and I will be back tomorrow morning if we haven't slept in. And we'll see you from 6 a.m. tomorrow.
And one last look at the forecast, because, of course, the after effects are still being felt of Storm Bert. Here are all the details.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Bert only slowly pulling away after what was a very unsettled weekend for many, as sunshine and blustery showers in the forecast today. Early rain clearing the southeast and then brighter for much of southeast England for the day. But further north and west across the rest of England and Wales, sunny spells, scattered showers. Showers frequent across Northern Ireland and Scotland through the day today. Some of them heavy, giving some longer spells of rain and turning to snow over the Scottish mountains as well. Windy here, gusts of 50 miles an hour possible as Bert only slowly moves away. Blustery elsewhere, but the wind's lighter compared to the weekend and temperatures near average for the time of year, so feeling cooler than they did yesterday. Into the evening time, we could see the centre of Storm Bert just clearing Shetland there. We've got a mixture of clear spells and showers across Scotland, again falling as snow over the higher ground, temperatures in single figures. So a cool end to Monday. Also showers across Northern Ireland stretching into Northern England as well. Frequent showers for Wales, the West Country. Some dry interludes for the Midlands, southeast England. Here, temperatures in single figures as we head through into the evening time. And those showers just continue to push their way eastwards as we end the day and go into the early hours of Tuesday. Perhaps some longer spells of rain developing through the English Channel and affecting some coastal stretches as we head towards the end of the night. Under the clear spells, temperatures dipping away, low single figures, perhaps a touch of frost, staying breezy across northern Scotland with frequent showers here. And Tuesday morning, a wet start here. Elsewhere, some sunny spells, a scattering of showers. After that chilly start, there'll be plenty of sunshine, still the risk of some showers along the south coast, but many parts of England and Wales will be dry with sunny spells. Also Northern Ireland seeing some sunny spells as well. Scotland, a mixture of showers. The winds tending to ease later on as well, and temperatures a little lower, generally reaching 9 or 10 Celsius at best. See you again soon.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. A number of roads across parts of England and Wales are closed because of flooding. There's widespread disruption to a number of train services too. In Greater Manchester, the A664 is closed each way at Castleton Moor for emergency repairs, causing delays. In Northamptonshire, Northampton Railway Station is closed because of flooding, so trains are unable to run between Rugby and Milton Keynes Central via Northampton. In Essex, the A12 is closed northbound between junctions 17 and 18 near Chelmsford after an accident. There are queues from junction